I'm so happy to have back once again Max Steele on the show. Thanks for coming, Max.
Yeah, of course. Of
Um,
course. Always happy to be here.
yeah, these are some of my favorite episodes
Great.
because there's a lot to talk about and there's a lot to cover,
Yeah.
and you dive deep into this stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and we're going to kind of cover the Portland City Council president election and
Hmm.
a few other things, maybe some of the OGEC investigation, things like that, all
Hmm.
centered around our wonderful Portland City Council.
Yes. No, I always love being here. This is the reason why I was recently outed as a
I
podcast
know.
bro
I was gonna
and
say
not a
we're
writer.
yeah,
Not
we've
like I
we've been
write,
bros even, maybe
but
even before we started recording,
but I'm
but
but I'm a writer. It's fine. Like it's fine. I got like four
yeah,
four podcast episodes
that's
and
true.
suddenly I'm a podcast bro.
And you did once ago or long
I
ago have
long
another podcast.
Long ago, I did have a
Um,
podcast, which was
but yeah,
named
you're
as Woke and Essential by the Portland Mercury.
yeah, I saw you put that in one of your
My
articles.
politics have not changed at all since then. It's literally the definition of things have
Yeah.
changed, to put sure.
And yeah, you stole I was gonna do that, say, hey, we're podcast bros or something. But yeah, maybe I'll put there's this graph up, and honestly, I still haven't looked at it in detail, but
That's great.
I was talking with a friend of mine, and I think like Tina Kotek's on there,
Oh
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
everyone's on there.
We're the right wing toadies of, I think they called her Republican hopeful for governor Tina Kotek.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
which is strange company for, I don't
it's
know,
a
I'm just like,
it's
I'm in with all these people? Like,
there's a lot of real cool people on that
yeah,
list. There's a lot of really nice people on that list.
yeah,
Some real
yeah,
nice Democrats.
yeah,
It's a big wall of Democrats.
yeah.
Um,
So yeah, and I don't know, maybe you guys have seen that, but maybe I'll put the graphic up. I wanted, yeah, I wrote down in caps, plug Max Substack. So go check out Max's Substack and wherever else you have stuff
no, I
because,
mean if you just search, yeah, Recalibrate Portland is
yeah.
the Substack. If you search for me, you'll find the stuff. Yeah, I'm a writer. I mean, it's doing fine. I don't like need the extra traffic. I'm just like,
I mean,
I
you could
put out
always use more.
a
Yeah,
hundred articles against 4 podcast episodes, and they're like podcast bro.
right.
I, I, a
Yeah, you
hundred
do have a lot of
articles.
writing. Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, and so let me see here. I was gonna do this little thing. I don't know, maybe this is selfish, but I never know how much people know about me, and I just wanted to say, one of the reasons I love doing these episodes with you is I've been watching city council meetings for a long time. Like even when
Yeah.
I was working in TV, I'd put before it was even on YouTube, it was just on their streaming website or whatever, and I would watch, Amanda Fritz, Randy Leonard, Dan Saltzman, all these
Oh,
old
Saltzman.
school kind of
Saltzman.
commission form. Yeah. So I just wanted to say I don't know. That's kind of like I have this history of nerding out on it, and that's
Sure.
why I'm into it. I can't really explain why you're so into it, but I enjoy it. So
Uh, yeah, I mean, um, some of it is I watch the city that I love start to like deteriorate,
yeah,
right? I
yeah.
mean, okay, so I like come from the radical left political sphere in Portland initially, although I was never really, yeah, I didn't really fit in super well. And that a lot of that stuff reached its peak of like stupidity in about 2014, 2015. Like we'd gotten to the point that it was pretty
Mm,
clear Portland's radical left couldn't build anything, but they could tear things down. So they were constantly like starting orgs, and then there was a coup in the org, and then everybody in the org got canceled because somebody sent an email that whatever. That felt like it was like burning off. It was reaching peak stupidity.
mm.
And then Trump got elected, and Portland
Kind of
was
like
like, let's toss the
lit that up
keys
again,
to those kids who
right?
we were never going to let into power because, the Occupy crowd here just is not capable of effective leadership. Or, I mean, they can organize really well, but they
Mm-hmm.
can only really organize around like messing stuff up. So then the keys got thrown to those idiots. It ran for, let's say, 8 years. And
Mm-hmm.
I got back in because clearly there's I don't know, I'm not saying we need to go back to 2012. We don't need to go back to anything, but we do need to take the keys out of the hands
Yeah,
of
yeah.
this. As you've said before, this group has now become the status quo, but
Mm,
they're still fighting the status quo. They've been in power to one degree or another for
yeah,
10 years,
yeah.
and Portland has declined over that time.
Yeah. No, it's a good segue too, because there's a couple things there. I'm basically at the point where I am ready to say, hey, maybe the old commission form had a lot of advantages over this current charter. And I'm just at the point now where I'm calling this charter dog shit. It's absolute
Sure.
dog. It's horrible. It's undefined. We're learning, like, even in this council president thing, we learned they're talking about the tiebreaker for the mayor to
Oh
be
yeah,
able to
yeah.
step in when that's not defined. And
Well,
um, but I was gonna say, I'm just gonna plug, if you guys are unhappy with the county and the city, please go sign Matt Zamuta's Multnomah petition. He did a kickoff party the other night. It was sold out, and he only needs like 22,000 signatures, so, and then he's
yeah.
got till July, I think. So that's one way to, how I characterize it is blow up the whole system and just start from scratch. It's gonna take a while if he passes that thing, but
Yeah.
so that's one thing. And uh, the other, I don't know. Go ahead. Were
Well,
you said
I
something?
just want to push back against like so getting rid of the commission system to me was a good idea. The charter that we set up doesn't work.
Yeah,
It was a good idea to replace a siloed
and
system.
and
The
they were competing other ideas to
Yes,
do
there were
that, or
many. We were looking at what, like seven, districts with
groups or what?
single,
Yeah,
representation. There were lots of ideas on the table that I think were pretty good. Uh, the best thing the charter gave us was what we've seen at the bureau level, right? Breaking up those silos, taking the bureaus out of the hands of one commissioner and
right.
putting them under, essentially the mayor, but like forcing that this was one of the best things you talked about with Taylor from the mayor's office, right? It's like everybody in the same room,
Mm,
everybody having to come to the same table. That stuff's really good.
hmm.
So I think the average Portlander, if they understood how our new government works, which I don't think a lot of people do, would probably say, the government by and large is actually better and the council is significantly worse.
Mm,
But the worst parts of it are just, it's so big, it's so slow,
right.
it's so inefficient, right? Like you could have taken the bureaus away from the commissioners, made them councilors. We could do five of them, we could do seven of them, whatever.
All right. I mean, even 8 would be
Sure,
arguably a lot, but that's smaller
with
than
some
we
sort
have
of
now.
actual tie breaking
Yeah.
mechanism that works, right? We all know the tie breaking thing is busted. Like that's it was a good idea. It's just a
It kind of
giant bloated mess.
metastasized, or yeah,
Yes,
like
yes, metastasized is
it's
yeah,
it's just expanded to some kind of labyrinthian system, which we
yeah,
have a lot of already with Metro
yeah.
and the county and all
It's
this.
just absurd.
But when you said decline, what I was gonna say, I just wanted to highlight this because I saw this in the Portland Business Journal this week. Portland was at the very bottom of, I believe, 40 different metro areas. I'm gonna pull up the graphic. I'll
Yeah,
put the
yeah,
ranking up here for exports, uh, and it does include, like, it's the metro area, so Intel is probably part of that. But
yeah,
I'm just putting this up here because I'm getting really frustrated as a constituent of the area.
yeah.
And also they said, if you guys look at this gigantic graph I'm going to put up here, nationally exports were up almost 5%, and we were
Yeah,
like down. I mean, if I'm looking at the thing, almost 20%, and we're at the bottom.
yeah.
So, and one of the things I get really frustrated about, I was listening to the finance committee's or what do you call it, a work session the other day, and I was listening to Mitch, who our reluctant council president was calling doctor, which is fine. I get it. He's
It's
got a doctorate,
legally sound or
but
whatever. Yeah,
I am so tired of, not these guys, like, they don't address the core issues. And
yeah,
I'm just so tired of them not bringing up traded sector businesses, which are like the big businesses that feed the small business that they all talk about. We
sure.
all love small business, by the way. Like, nobody's out
Yeah.
here like championing the hate against small
I
business.
literally own one. It's the
Yeah,
reason I
right.
moved to
Yeah.
Portland. Yes.
But I just, he's supposed to be an economist, and
Yeah.
I get frustrated with the whole anyone on that committee or all the committees that they're not interested in trader sector businesses, which are just crucial to economic development in any
Yes.
city.
Yes.
And anyway, so look at the graph, and it's my little economic
No, I think
thing.
this challenge is this. It's happening everywhere, right? Oh, the American economy is sort of funky everywhere. Yeah, it is. It's a little funky everywhere, but it's not as funky as it is here. Well, it's funky everywhere, and here
Yeah.
it sucks. This is like
And
I think
yeah, go ahead.
the 2026 candidates for city council or any office in Portland need to be here's like the secret to success. You need to be able to answer a very simple question. And that question is, why is Portland the slowest to bounce back from whatever that Trump, COVID,
Yeah.
like
The
any of it's
2020
2020,
time or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
vortex, right? Why is Portland the slowest to come back? Because it's not obviously for purely ideological reasons. Heavily progressive cities have bounced back faster. More conservative cities have bounced back faster. Cities that are more diverse have bounced back faster. Cities that are less, I don't know, there's many cities less diverse, but those cities probably bounce back faster. All of these like little things that people, oh, well, like like an anti-immigration person might be like, well, because it's the sanctuary cities, they're not bouncing back as fast. Yeah, actually, they have. The sanctuary cities have bounced back. Everyone of every
Yeah.
category has
Yeah.
bounced back faster than us. So answer the question, why us? What's special about us?
Hmm.
And then the follow-up question is, and what are you going to do to reverse this course?
Yeah. And I was gonna say, even Taylor, when he was here from the mayor's office, talked about the reputational issues that we still have about bringing investment here of any kind. And
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. Is like it was amazing in this work session. I believe it was the CFO of the city. I forget his name, Jonas.
Jonas
Maybe.
Berry,
But
nice guy.
they had this huge presentation about a 5-year plan that may stabilize our financial situation that we're in at the city. So this is a long-term thing. And and Angelita and people in there are bickering about this $13 million about if that could have, if this budget hole could have been addressed earlier. And I'm just sitting there thinking like that's they're not even seeing the big picture of like
Yeah.
we're on a 5-year plan just to get to a recovery
Oh
stage,
yeah, yeah.
So it's like
And
it
it was a 5-year plan a year ago. We've also been told that like the
yeah,
5-year plan sort of very quietly became a 6-year plan, right? Like we didn't lose ground,
yeah,
but we stalled out in 2025.
right.
And Portlanders know this. You look at the Metro Chamber data that just came back that they posted. Portlanders know we didn't get significantly worse. It's not like we're on a downward slope, but we just like stalled out.
Yeah, and it's been that way for a long time.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'll maybe put the clip in here, but so Jonas or whoever that's
Yeah.
his name, right?
Yeah.
The CFO, they did this huge presentation, and everyone in the room, in the meeting could feel how dire and the weight, and they said it in the presentation. They're like, "This is a serious thing. Like, we need to really
Yeah.
address this." And the first thing that happens is the new reluctant council president Jamie Dunphy makes a joke.
On the screen here is a visual concept to show how we might think about the next few years, showing what I've called phase one, which is the current crisis response moment, which I expect will last through, as I said, at least kind of an 18, potentially 36-month window, then pivoting to what we hope will be a period of stabilization, moving into kind of a transition and assessment, by which I mean let's confirm we actually are stabilized before we start making new expenditure decisions.
Well, Jonas, Peter, Ruth, on behalf of City Council, every city employee, and every person in the city of Portland, I think I collectively say, woof. Councilor Green.
And so he's kind of missing missing the plot, I think. But
Yeah.
we'll get to the president.
Sure. Sure. Sure.
I wanted to ask you, let's make sure I'm not forgetting any economy stuff yet. So yeah, like with the council president vote and just so far in 2026, is there a movie title you would give this city council? Or maybe an album title?
Oh, God. Oh, that's a
I'm putting you
tough.
on the spot
You
a
are
little
putting
bit.
me on the spot. What is I mean, like obviously one battle after another. Like
Yeah, you
is
brought
like
that up in
is the
yeah.
obvious joke. But I don't think it's that dire actually. I think it's uh people were last year who spoke to me in many different political pockets of Portland very worried that because of the way the system is set up, it's just rigged to re-elect the same people forever. And one, I think you're underestimating Portlanders' hatred for incumbents. And Portland has a deep hatred of incumbents,
Mm.
a distrust, maybe not hatred, but and then two, like I think people are underestimating like that presidential vote was a disaster optically. Clients of mine who don't care about politics, who I never discuss city business with because they watch like they're just spending their time watching NPR and focusing on the national stuff. Like they don't think that the local stuff matters at all.
Yeah, yeah.
We're rolling into my shop and being like, All right, give me the lowdown on what happened with this presidential thing, because that just sounds like a disaster. I'm already seeing little old ladies say in my district, I'm voting for Eli Arnold and anybody that seems nice who wasn't on this council. Like they're so mad at the whole council. They're just so
Right.
mad at they just kind of want to reset, which is why I think Multnomah is going to get some traction. I think
So a lot of that frustration. Yeah.
people knew that we needed a change and they think that we got the wrong change. I don't know. You change leadership, right? Your company brings in a new CEO and then morale declines for a year and a half steadily. Maybe you fire that CEO and bring in another, right? Like maybe you don't.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't do it's a team building year. Like sometimes it is a team building year, but sometimes it's
Right.
just a bad
Yeah.
fit. Yeah.
Especially after, and everyone's brought this up on the show at least, but especially after the same thing happened last year. It's like,
Oh yeah.
and this is probably longer, right? As
Yeah.
far as
Yeah.
voting.
And this is where and you've had guests that have said this, the local politicians have said this, and you have expressed frustration with this idea. We're running out of the we're new.
I was just gonna say that,
We're
yeah.
new.
And even
No.
my last few guests, I'm just sitting here like I just can't hear it anymore. Like I'm so
No.
tired of hearing it, and
It
we're past the year mark. We've gone through 2 years of these president election cycles, and it's
yes.
the same thing. And this time it was way more heated, and
This is the COVID supply chain issues. You just cannot get brake pads for your truck because supply chain issues. And you're like, all right, but it's been 14 months. Like
yeah,
at what point
right.
are you figuring out like you're gonna start ordering brake pads from a
Yeah,
different supplier? Like
yeah.
you run out of the ability to just be like, yeah, I guess everything sucks now forever. No, that's not the case.
Yeah, and I wonder what you think of this too. Like, I feel like maybe people's I definitely feel like this, but maybe like people you hear from, their takeaway is that they kind of see that at least the Peacock block and the DSA folks on the council, they're way more into this, the combativeness and the
Yeah.
friction. That's what they're up there for. It seems like that.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like. They just want to do that all the time.
And that's the sort of one battle after another joke, right? Like if you're not paying attention, the whole council sucks. If you're paying attention, half the council is 75 to 85% of the issues, right?
Yeah,
Like if you're
right.
paying attention, it's really, really bad. And you've got the pessimists, right? You've got your sort of like more conservative substackers who are like, yeah, but that's just what it is now, right? System's rigged in their favor, and you keep once they're elected, they'll never get out. And then you've got you've got the overly optimistic people who are like, but we're still building the ship as we're sailing it.
Right.
But everybody else is sort of living in the middle and going, it's pretty obvious who's trying to work with other people and who isn't.
Right,
And I think what's going to be really telling, and there are already some telling indications, the campaigns this year. I think you're going to see one of the Peacocks in particular do a hard pivot on branding and try to distance herself from
Okay. I thought you were gonna say him.
no, I don't think Mitch will succeed at that. I think our former Vice President Tiffany Koyama Lane,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
already seeing indications that she
Kind of
is running back toward teacher mom cares about Main Street,
Right.
which is great. That's a good idea if that's what she's doing.
But is that just for campaign mode only?
Well,
or-
that's the question. Do we trust that? I don't trust it, but I'm just saying like that'll be pretty damning if you're already seeing like the Peacock, like they're so strong,
Right,
and then
someone
there's already
bailing.
fractures where they're like,
Yeah.
ooh, this isn't working. Everybody hates this because everybody does hate it, except for their increasingly radicalized base.
Yeah.
But we've sort of got a snapshot of how large their base is, right? They like change.org. They love running change.org petitions. Everybody likes change.org, whatever. But you can look at the petitions that they run and you can see how many signatures they get and go, okay, there's about 3,000 really, really dedicated members of this base. And that's it. Like, I mean,
Yeah, in a city this size, that's pretty minuscule.
exactly. So I think, again, if Koyama Lane is smart, or if the people handling her campaign are smart, yeah, they're gonna try to get her back to what she ran on last time, which is like unions and affordability,
Right,
age in
right.
place. Like that stuff's good. People like that stuff. I like that stuff. I like
Yeah.
unions and affordability and age in place. That stuff's
And honestly,
awesome.
yeah, of all the folks in that block, I think she would have the most strategic advantage by doing that because
Yes.
she just doesn't have a lot else to rely on. And getting back to like, I am actually grassroots, which I don't think she's at all,
No,
but
but
that's a smart strategic move.
yeah,
And
yeah.
um, the one thing I was going to say too about when I was asking the movie title thing is like, because I haven't had as much time to watch a lot of these meetings, and I did a kind of recap yesterday, but um, like just looking at a lot of them, I can see where a lot of this money's going, and it's going to like wardrobe and stuff like that. Like
Okay.
all of the Peacock folks are just like,
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know if they have stylists or what's going on,
Oh.
but it's kind of like if you look a year back from now and look at them today, it's just like a drastic turnaround, and you can see where they're spending some of that salary, maybe.
If
You know
you
what I
want
mean?
to know whether Mitch regrets his first year in office, so he was flannel shirt, Union, Woody Guthrie,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then the moment he's in office, his suits. It's like pretty decent suits. The guy's well dressed.
yeah,
I'm not gonna dunk on him
and
for that.
yeah.
He's better dressed than I am
I
for
don't even
sure.
know that there's one I can pick on. It's just all of them. They seem like they just.
Samir's always been pretty
He's been
dapper. He's
pretty.
a
Yeah,
professional. He grew up a rich kid.
that's
He knows how to
yeah,
dress well. It's whatever. But Mitch was like very, his campaign. It's red flannel. It's
yeah, yeah.
kind of Carhartt. It's working class
Like jeans
coded.
and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Which is very Portland, and it's suits in council. And I'll be interested to see on the campaign trail if he flips back out for the flannel, because I think that's going to be
Yeah,
like the signal that he is retreating to, oh crap.
right, right.
I went to like people are associating me too much with Mom Donnie, and then even further left stuff. Like now I am, I'm cosplay Lennon,
Yeah.
and you got to like get yourself away from cosplay Lennon, because cosplay Lennon is probably not going to win a seat in D4. So
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
so we'll see. We'll see. I think I would expect Koyama Lane and Green to
Kind of
retreat
do
from that,
that.
and I would expect Angelita Murillo to lean into it as hard as she possibly can, and just she's going to steer into the skid. And maybe she's right. Maybe that's the right move, is to just go like, hell yeah, hot commie summer 2.0,
Yeah. Because
and
I don't, with her, I don't honestly see any other path she could really.
no.
That's kind of just what she'd have to do. But
Yeah.
the other thing I was gonna say is before we get back into the president election stuff, in the finance thing, they brought up ways to cost save, and I believe the number 2 or number 3 cost saving measure they suggested was like pulling back on unnecessary travel. And so I don't know if they were saying the council specifically. I think they
Sure.
were saying bureaus,
Yeah.
but that's one way I interpreted it because I did a big records request this year. It's the cost of that stuff, and like Candace was one of the, in
Yeah.
the first month she got elected, she spent like 20 grand or something going to Washington, D.C. to
Yeah.
some trip. So I just thought that was funny.
Yeah.
And that's probably a good idea if they're all complaining about a
Mm-hmm.
$15 million hole. Maybe you guys shouldn't be traveling as much, including the big
Mhm.
Vienna trip and all this bullshit. But
Yeah.
okay. So, and if, it's kind of weird, maybe we haven't mentioned so far, but I was going to kind of make a joke. So, like, pretend like I didn't know who the president was that got elected.
Oh, sure.
I was going to be like, so was it the guy that abandoned his staffer abandoned a homeless woman in the wilderness? Is that the
Well,
guy we.
Well, it's interesting. That's an interesting story.
It is
I've
a joke.
Oh, no, I know.
but
I've learned more about that story.
Oh, yeah,
and
I have? Okay.
It might actually be the Dunphys the bigger villain in that story.
Wow.
Just floating out there. Like
Yeah.
a lot of bad decisions were made, but it is
Well,
yeah.
I'm just curious. Yeah, like your take on. I keep saying reluctant because I think he said that. He's like, I'm a reluctant.
I think that's true. Yeah.
chosen person.
I don't think he's full of it. I think that
Um,
Jamie Dunphy did not want that position.
So yeah, I was just curious. Yeah, like your general take on him, and also like, is he actually gonna pull back from the Peacock? Like he said,
I think he will.
Okay.
I actually think he will.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. So there's like imposter syndrome, right? And imposter syndrome is normally a fairly toxic mental framework you get in, where you don't deserve the things that you have earned. And then sometimes there's like an imposter syndrome because you're, I don't know, like the popular example would be you're like a Nepo baby. And so there is a reason for you to really wonder, should I be here? Well, in Dunphy's case, he's the only city councilor who didn't get the 25%. He did not get the requisite votes to get on council. He was essentially, and I'm not trying to be an asshole, he was the first runner-up. Terrence Hayes would have been the second runner-up, right?
No, this is stuff like I totally forgot about this.
Yeah. And so he initially there was an interview he did on Stump Talk, Maya Vickland Harris's podcast, where he was a little. He acknowledged that the situation he was standing in was pretty like, I know that I'm the least supported counselor. I know that I'm like kind of the most lucky to be here. And Avalos was on that podcast with him, and it kind of sounded like she like talked to her. She was like, no, Jamie, you're great. You're great. Don't, do negative self-talk, which is like a nice thing for a colleague to tell you to do. But in reality, Dunphy had the smallest base of support of anyone. He is the least popular counselor by the votes. And then now he's like everybody's fourth choice for president.
Mm.
And he got in again because he's kind of the first runner up. So this is a dude who legitimately, there's a lot of evidence that he might be the least threatening guy in the room. But like, you don't want to get jobs because you're the least scary person for the job. You want people to want you in that job.
Mm.
What I'm hoping is that that will breed in him like a healthy insecurity, and that he will see like, this is my opportunity. This is my opportunity to grow to this position,
Mm.
or I'm going to crash and burn so hard.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people expect him to crash and burn. I'm not going to lie, like, I kind of expect him to crash and burn, but I am
Yeah.
fully prepared to be shocked by this guy.
Mm.
I'm like, fingers crossed. I
Yeah,
want to be
yeah,
shocked. I want him
yeah.
to distance himself from the Peacock. I want him to condemn some of the uglier stuff that the DSA has been doing. I'm not seeing that yet, but I want to see it.
Mm.
And I'm going to kind of box his ears a little bit verbally, like to try to point him in that direction. Cause I think that could be a career making moment. Is everybody expects you to fail. You were like everybody's compromise of a compromise choice.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, no,
like rise to the
I
occasion,
don't know
man.
that I can really disagree with much of that. 'Cause that's kind of how I feel, and I see that. Like, I think I saw one interview, or maybe I'm just thinking of the meeting after he got elected, and he seemed to be putting that on as kind of, I guess, what you would say imposter syndrome. You can feel that, you can almost see that pressure on him, and he's just
Yeah.
trying to like project confidence, which
Yeah.
isn't really what I've seen from him.
But fake it
But
till you
he's
make it, dude.
trying, yeah,
Yeah,
and
fake it till you make it, man. Like, I
um,
hope like, I'm being honest. I have many, many, many criticisms of Jamie Dunphy. I rank him in the lower middle of the pack pretty
yeah,
consistently.
yeah.
And I still, if he blew my socks off, if he just surprised me, I'd be over the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was thinking, I think I pretty much agree with that. But and it is interesting just how, like, yeah, I would characterize it. He's almost like a fourth string quarterback, but I don't know that he
Yeah.
was a quarterback to begin with. So it's kind
Yeah.
of, but yeah, like how we ended up there is really interesting. And
Yeah. He is the guy who is picked in like the final inning because the team is going to have to forfeit if they can't put somebody on the field.
yeah,
And they're like, Dunphy, and he like has to pull his headphones off and go, "What, coach?"
right. Yeah.
You're like, "What?
What's
Oh,
going on? Yeah.
crap. Yeah. Hey, hand me the ball." Like, I mean, it's
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like
My main, like, you kind of talked about this a little bit, but my main hang up or criticism would be, we've talked about this on previous rankings and stuff, that I put on here probably the biggest conformist and the biggest codependent person on like, he just seems like he needs a group. And I think that's what you just described. We'll see if he's able to shake that
yeah,
kind
if
of
if you
off.
get him out of Avalos's shadow and you get him, Loretta has said that she's gonna stay on top of him to keep him out of that Peacock nonsense. And I think, like, no matter how you slice it, the death of the Peacock is good for Portland. It's good for them. Like, it's actually good
Yeah,
for
that's true.
them.
Yeah.
There's no one who benefits except for maybe some of the interests that have been like steering them.
Mm.
But there's no one who benefits from the Peacock continuing to exist as as Steve Novick said, a private club.
Yeah.
So I wanted Purtle Guinea. I would have accepted Clark, Smith, Novick, right? I would have accepted a lot of people before Dunphy, but in the weird long game, he was kind of my second choice. Like, a
Yeah.
little bit
I'd
my
say
second
it's
choice.
clearly not the best option, but probably not the worst as well.
No, and I
Yeah.
think there's some good stuff that can come from it. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm gonna be like really optimistic here and say Jamie's gonna surprise me, and this time next year I'm gonna be like, man, look at that guy. I'm
Okay.
really pleased with him.
All right.
Here's hoping.
Fair enough. Yeah, I was gonna say, because you did, I don't know how many articles on just the whole process of the council president election. But let's go through some of the key moments, and I'll just do my little editorialization of like, again, I didn't watch every minute of these things, but to me, the elephant in the room was like, this is Portland, because I always say like the DSA got installed here way before New York, a year before Mamdani
Yeah.
got elected.
Yeah.
And I think there's pros and cons to that. And one, I don't know, just the way I saw this whole council president election shaping up to me was very painfully obvious of them trying to kind of create their own Mamdani here by proposing Samir.
Oh yeah, charismatic, wealthy,
Yeah, and
connected, socialist guy.
and this is a compliment to him. They have similar qualities that are very good for public image and that kind of thing. And
Sure.
but that was just kind of the elephant in the room to me of like,
Yeah.
it was an obvious thing that they were trying to do.
Oh yeah. They were trying to ride that crest.
And who knows, maybe if he would have got elected council president, maybe he eventually runs for mayor and tries to literally be another Mamdani or something.
Yeah, I think that Samir Canel is a guy with big aspirations. I mean, you look at his background, right? He has that political model UN,
thing,
human
yeah.
rights stuff. Like, he's got his CV is like decently impressive. Although it's a lot of jobs for short amounts of time. And you do sort of look at like when I say that he's a former rich kid, he comes from money.
Yeah.
Like that family home in Washington is nice. Is a nice house. It's a real nice house. It's not like, oh, okay, they have an $800,000. No.
Well, if you're in is it Seattle area or somewhere?
It's Camas.
Oh,
They're just slightly north, but yeah,
that's a pretty wealthy area.
It's a nice house in a wealthy area. I mean, that's fine. His parents are a huge immigrant success story, right? This is like exactly the success story that we want for, they own gas stations and assorted other things. They're
successful business owners.
Business owners, successful capitalists.
There you go.
And they got like a wealthy, ambitious kid. He is the cousin of Gwen Stefani's ex-boyfriend. I don't think that a lot of people know
I've
that.
never heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. Early in his campaign, he actually had his cousin Tony Canel.
Okay.
The basis for No Doubt.
Yeah. He may have told me this like a long time ago.
That's fine. He did. Yeah. His Tony Canel did a little video. It was like, it's my cousin Samir. He's so cool, man.
Okay.
It's like the bassist dude or whatever. I mean, it's fine. He's from like a rich family. He has like a good education. And so, yeah, he's kind of cut from that same cloth of like, I'll say champagne socialist, right? It's that further left than he's pretending to be. Charismatic, winning smile, looks good in a suit, etc.
Yeah, like you said before, dapper. He's very,
yes, but just great hair. Dude's got just phenomenal. He's got to have a good stylist. Yeah. Stacked up against like a bunch of pasty bald dudes, flanking him on either side.
Yeah. And I know that's a lot of what we're about to talk about, but there was just so many heated, I would say, I don't know what the word is, like identity kind of digs against different people. And but I was just bringing that up because like from day one, way before the election, I just heard they were going to go for, it was going to be Samir. That was their boy to put up for this.
That's their guy, yeah.
And so it just seemed like that was the easy, I don't know, strategy and narrative they were going for, but it didn't work out.
No, and I was terrified of that because if you will notice, most of the Roberts Rules shenanigans, the creative interpretations of rules, the little procedural chess moves are almost all coming from Samir Canel.
Right.
This
is
a guy.
The brain of that.
I mean, he's a model UN dude. He's a debater, but like in the competitive debate sense, right? This is a guy who knows how to.
He knows those
point of order, like
I was gonna say those rules, and he knows how to navigate them.
Yes,
very well.
And having him in the president's seat is that would have been really, really bad. Yeah. That would have been a very, very bad situation where the Peacock likely would have run roughshod over the council for all of 2026. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say explain, I guess, for people if they don't know, because I would just tell them like they basically, whoever gets in that seat, they basically set the agenda and they can control which items come to committees or maybe just council, I guess. But
so some of the committee stuff is a little more complicated, but yeah, they set the agenda, they set the tone, they decide kind of how even the flow of the meeting is going to go. obviously there are ways other councilors can provide input. They can move an agenda item forward, or I mean, there's lots of creative ways. We saw that with Zimmerman in his recent finance stuff. He had a creative way to bring something to challenge Avalos's plan with this 21 million housing. There's lots of creative ways you can use and abuse the rules. Everybody does it. But Canal is particularly good at that. And the president's seat, you want somebody in the president's seat who has an actual interest in trying toward fairness and the intended form the council's supposed to take. And I think that we saw, contrary to DSA accusations, I think we saw that with Alana Bertolini.
Yeah.
She's super, super progressive. And we got a very kind of normie, compromisey like counsel for that first year for the most part. I think she did a good job at that.
Yeah, and I think she knew definitely within a few months that like, hey, there's this block that was formed at some point or was already existing, and she would have to kind of reckon with doing a balanced agenda. Because what I was going to say is, like what Max was just saying, like if Samir or any member of that block had got the presidency, you would just see every agenda just stacked with all the policy that they're trying to push.
Yeah,
like that's the whole
worry.
idea.
Yeah, that's the worry. Is that you'd never see Eric Zimmerman or Olivia Clark get a single thing on the agenda, right? Yeah. Because they're allegedly moderates, allegedly.
So they'd kind of stack everything in their favor, and that was the worry. But didn't end up that way. We got the reluctant president, and so it's like take us back to the beginning of this process and just some of the key moments, if you can.
Great. So it starts. Smith puts forward Portland, right? The idea is we should stick with leadership for another 2 years, or another 1 year. Sorry, so a total of 2 years, because we're finally gelling as a council, and she's done a great job, and there's nobody else who's really ready for it. And then Dunphy puts forward Canal. And then Murillo put forward Zimmerman as a joke. Literally just retract.
Did she make a joke about
it? She was like, ha ha ha, you guys, this crowd, that would be wild, right? And then she was like, but while we're here, I want to talk about how Alana Bertolini shouldn't be running this meeting.
Councilor Murillo.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to nominate Eric Zimmerman. Just kidding. Sorry, I just wanted to see everyone's blood pressure. Council President Portland has had a lot of things to address, but we've also had a lot of issues moving policy through council. It's taken a long time. The previous council, I think, passed double the amount of policies that our current council does.
And this was like something that came up a lot throughout the process. Avalos, Murillo, and Koyama Lane kept trying to steer it back to Tiffany Koyama Lane should be running this meeting. Those are not the rules of council. It's just, they said it's like a cultural thing. It's an optics thing. You should just toss the reins to Koyama Lane. And Koyama Lane jockeyed for this as well, and also kept asking little questions like, oh, just a point of order. Do we need a majority of council, or do we need a majority of council currently in the room? And, city attorney was like, in the room. And she goes, good, just checking. So can I run the meeting again? Like it was clearly they were going for one of those like midnight switcheroos that Koyama Lane and Canal have become sort of popular for. The idea, I joked to somebody, I was like, is Tiffany Koyama Lane about to like shoot somebody in that room? Just to be like, there's only 11 of us.
Checking all the rules. And
just check. I was like, does she shoot somebody now? Like, because there was this intense, you could tell they were moving at the sides the whole time to try to figure out some sort of scenario where Dan Ryan's leaving tomorrow for a Ducks game. If we can have somebody at his hotel cut the power, I am making wild allegations right now. I'm just... But there was a weird air the whole time. So,
I didn't know that. Yeah. So
it was strange. I'm
trying to understand now. So, and they were kind of presenting that as like, she's impartial because EPG couldn't.
Yes, because EPG couldn't be impartial because she's a candidate. Okay. And so somebody who isn't, although this is the funny bit, they suggested it before anybody had been nominated. Because it was assumed that EPG would be a candidate, and it was assumed that Tiffany wouldn't be.
Yeah.
But in reality, anyone could be nominated at any moment. Yeah. So there's no reason.
Kind of argument because they all also get to vote for whoever they want anyway.
Yeah. So it's fine. It was just, there was a strange air the whole time, which added to the tension. And I don't think a lot of casual viewers are going to notice this
Right.
this shifting
It's
in
kind
the
of a
room.
subtle vibe of the room.
Yeah, they're trying to set up like a really interesting surprise play, which I am asserting. That's my assertion. I looked like that. But yeah, it went for like 5, 6 rounds. It was mega frustrating. It was relatively calm at first.
Yeah. For
Uh,
the first couple hours or
the
whatever.
first couple of hours, I mean, again, the three terrors of the entire process were Koyama Lane, Avalos, Murillo. Like those three were the least professional, the most aggressive. Canal, to his credit,
Hmm.
came off great.
Maybe that's because he's trying to get
Sure.
the election.
But he didn't slip. He didn't. I mean, he was charismatic. He was I don't know. He was affable. And even when stuff got really, really identity based, he was the guy who was constantly like, "Can I not be the brown guy candidate? Can I please just be a qualified like?" So
Right,
there was
right.
some real like attempts to be like. I think he was the first person to bring up. We all have to work with each other tomorrow.
Mm.
Like he came off, I know more things about him kind of behind the scenes that lead me to believe this was more of an act than his real footing. But again, for somebody watching at home, like
You're like,
he
no,
was
it's pretty
very
clean.
he was really professional. Mitch mostly was too, right? Like Mitch only occasionally veered into that silliness. Dunphy likewise only occasionally veered into the silliness, although veered into it more than Mitch. And then Avalos, Koyama Lane, and Murillo just spent the whole week just picking at Purtle Guinea in vague ways.
Mm.
They'd also do these weird things where if anybody offended them, they'd say like, "Oh, is that how it's going to be? So we're just going to start telling truths now. Oh, so the gloves are going to come off now. Oh, so we're about to start just telling everybody the dirt. Okay, well, I don't think you guys want that." And then they would proceed to tell no dirt, spill no tea, right? It was this strange, like, it's like you
And
you
were
bump
they,
into.
I was just gonna say, were they doing that unprompted or they were just
No,
kind
it would
of,
be like, so eventually, okay, so the battle goes on for rounds and rounds. It doesn't go anywhere. And eventually Eric Zimmerman snaps. And he's
yeah.
like, okay, I'm tired of this. It's 6-6. It's 6-6. It's been 6-6 the whole time. I'm not voting for Samir Canel. He doesn't have the temperament for this.
Right. I
Zimmerman.
believe that's the one I watched where he
Yeah.
kind of, I would say, tore down
Oh, yeah.
Samir's character as just the first year.
I mean, it was
just
it
like, this
was
is what
a
we've seen from
yes, it was a professional and character attack. I agree with everything he said.
There's been a lot of, maybe impugning is too hard of a word, but a lot of questioning of the record of the current president. I think that comes with the role. We've aired those grievances somewhat, but it's not like the other side of that coin is untested or that we don't have a record of Councillor Canal to discuss. Councillor Canal talked about he has a good relationship with the mayor, the administration, the city clerk, and others, and I would just say flatly, no, you do not. I think you have probably one of the worst relationships on this dais with some of those that you named. What Councillor Clark mentioned with respect to patterns, patterns in terms of how you conduct yourself here, the delays, the tactics regarding the consent agenda, I agree with her. I think that those patterns I've voiced those concerns previously in the year. I hold them still. I find them to be juvenile in the best case and disruptive in most cases.
But everything comes off the rails at this point. The little allusions to treating people of color differently, or the little allusions to bullying Peacock members, or whatever, that all, like, the illusions go out the window, and it becomes, wow, we are sitting in a chamber while a guy does white supremacist dog whistles. This is pure racism. He's scared of a brown man. And I don't know how many times Angelita Murillo said a dark-skinned brown man. She just kept saying, like, until again Samir had to kind of find a diplomatic way to be like, can I be more than that? Is it possible
Like,
for me to be
I'm sitting over here. You
like
guys
a
don't have to
politician?
call me
Yeah,
this over.
it's
Yeah.
really strange. It was aggressive. But yeah, that's when, you're afraid of Samir because of the color of his skin. You can't just be afraid of him because he flipped out and slammed a door when he didn't get his way the other week, or any of the other reported things that, right, a police officer shows up at his town hall and then he's doing a press conference about how he's been intimidated. But like, the dude has a short temper. He famously has a short temper. Again, this is back to the temperament to sit that chair. I mean, Samir Canal's a charismatic guy, but he has a short temper. this is when Avalos and Murillo and even Koyama Lane started with their like, oh, if we're just gonna start, telling rumors about people and talking smack, like if you really want that, I don't think you want that, because we know who in this room really bullies people, and then they never say it. We know who in this room the staff is really afraid of, and then they never say it.
I reject and frankly just do not agree with the narrative that is being painted right now about Councillor Canal, that he does not have the right temperament, when in reality, in my experience, I have only experienced him as respectful and very conscientious. That's a hard word for me sometimes. And it isn't lost on me that he is the only man of color on our council. And so it's making me think about a lot of things. And it is making me think about how there are members on this dais whose behavior has been genuinely hostile and threatening towards colleagues and staff, screaming in faces, intimidating subordinates, creating fear in the workplace. And myself and my staff have been on the receiving end of that. And I believe some of that is being looked into. And it is particularly confusing to me because there is a pattern from our current council president of berating people of color and those in subordinate positions, both inside this building, behind closed doors, and also in public spaces. I've witnessed it, I've experienced it personally, and I'm not gonna sit quietly while an accusation that feels rooted in some racialized fear, possibly.
Like they're alluding to like
Throwing this out there of like,
Yeah.
someone's an asshole
Yeah,
here.
maybe Eric is actually the scary one. Maybe Ilana is actually the bully, but they don't ever say names. It's just this vagary of like, oh, once we start telling truths, it's all going to come to
Yeah.
light. And then none of it comes to light. There's no truth that comes to light. It has the same energy as like a guy at a bus stop being like, why don't you step a little closer to me and
Yeah,
see what
I know, I
happens?
know.
And then
Yeah.
you step closer and he's like, well, if you step even closer, then we might, like, what are we
I
doing?
know, I was thinking of something like that where somebody's like, you want this smoke? And then there's no
Yeah,
smoke.
There's
It's
no
like,
smoke.
where's the smoke
There's
at?
no
Yeah.
smoke. And I'm glad there's none, but like, don't act like that then.
Yeah.
It's such,
Maybe-
again, childish.
And maybe that was, I don't know what you would see that as just a defense mechanism or just a protection mechanism of like, because it is weird that, I listened to Eric's thing, and I think even if you disagree with what he is saying, they're all fair points, and it has nothing to do with his physical identity or anything
No.
like that. It was just
No.
about his behavior in his past year. And
Yeah.
so maybe they just had nothing. They were going to the
I think they
well
had-
and they
yeah.
had nothing to.
I think it's about the temperament to sit that chair, Andy. I mean, it really is. Like, Ilana Pertleguiney, and I cannot put a fine enough point on this, sat there for basically a week, but 3 sessions, two and a quarter sessions,
Yeah.
and just had vague accusations dropped against her over and
Right.
over and over again.
Yeah, and I was saying, and she's just the type of person that she's not gonna shit sling like they do,
Thank you, counselor. Counselor Green. Yeah, like they would just be like, and you're kind of an asshole, and nobody likes working with you, and your leftovers that you eat for lunch smell. Thank you, counselor. Counselor Canal. Like it just.
It could be just, you're like a stone cold bitch. I hate
Ye-
everything about you, and
yeah.
she's not gonna
She's like,
fight on that.
it's an interesting point you bring up.
Yeah.
Counselor Smith. Like it was really, really professional.
And that's
really,
the temperament.
that's the
that you
temperament,
want.
right? And you get that from Ilana Pertleguiney. You get that from Olivia Clark. You usually, this is where, okay, in the ranking of the peoples. 'cause
Of
I wanna-
temperament.
Yeah, and especially for
temperament
this,
rankings,
the
yeah.
temperament ranking. Ilana Pertleguiney is a statuesque figure. You cannot rattle this lady, with the exception of that one time that she told somebody to go fuck them. So she told Samir Canel to go
Right.
fuck himself.
And that wasn't in a meeting.
That wasn't in a meeting.
Yeah.
That was not in a meeting, and the context is Samir Canel did not say, "Have a nice night, Ilana." Motherfucker, like, pointed his head in through a doormat. Have a nice night. Like,
Right.
we know
Rubbing it in.
there's
yeah.
ways that you can say "have a nice day" or Merry Christmas that make people want to
Yeah.
punch you. It's fine.
And the context is important. Of like
context
they
is
had just had
important.
this
Yes.
win in their eyes and just rubbing it in.
What's the tone? Anyway, so other than the one, go fuck yourself.
Right.
Ilana Pertlegany. Under Ilana Pertlegany is Steve Novick. I don't like Steve Novick all the time, but that dude is pretty unrattleable.
Yeah,
He is
yeah.
going to keep it professional, and he is not going to flip out at people. Down from there's probably, you've got your Olivia Clark. You've got your Eric Zimmerman, Dan Ryan, and Loretta Smith are all in this middle tier
Yeah.
where they're usually very good, but you can get them hot and bother. You can get them pissed off,
Yeah.
and they'll punch back. Like Loretta especially will smack
Right,
back,
yeah.
and it's awesome when she does it. But you know, it gives me pause in supporting her for president because
Yeah.
there's times where she totally interrupted, you know, whatever. That happens. It's middle tier, still professional, still acceptable level stuff. And then down from there, you get into your like Samir Canels, your Jamie Dunphys, your Mitch Greens,
Yeah.
usually pretty good, sometimes a little dishonest, and play some games. And then, like, I'm sorry, at the bottom, it's like Tiffany Koyamaline, Candace Avalos, and then finally Angelita Murillo is the bottom where she's very charismatic. And if you punch one of those buttons just the right way, she can't let stuff go. She will just, she throughout that series of meetings and throughout all the meetings this last year, she will interrupt. She's very quick to be like, I don't know why we're still talking about this because it's obvious that you don't have the votes to get this through and you're wasting everybody's time, including the taxpayer. So can we just like point of order or whatever I
Yeah.
need to do to get everybody to shut up?
That's almost verbatim.
That is almost listen,
I've heard that sound clip a number of
It is.
times. Yeah.
it is like, I need everybody to shut the hell up because I'm tired of your yapping. But you're like, you don't have the floor. You
Mhm.
don't have any authority to be speaking right now. You
Yeah,
didn't even
yeah.
get in the queue to make that point. You were just like, I'm fourth in line. I'm tired. I'm tired. I want to go home.
Yeah.
Like,
and
we
I,
win, you lose, shut up.
I was gonna say, I know I'm sort of tone policing, but that's like what she just has this tone policing attitude of like, all right, none of what you said, just any of what anybody just said matters, but
None matters.
I'm gonna say what really matters now because I'm
Yeah.
the one or whatever.
Yeah, I'm the one. I already have the votes. I'm going to win.
Right. Yeah.
Shut up.
And one thing I was going to ask before we get into kind of the day two or whatever, because I know I did want to talk about how they kind of split off in these two press conferences and
Oh,
talk
sure.
about the Willamette Week's questionable kind of reporting on that. But
Uh-oh.
but I wanted to ask first, like, was there like because you follow this stuff closer than I do, was there like an online, offline carryover of all this of like, were they going to EPG on their socials and all that
Yes.
stuff
Well, I mean,
too?
okay, no. The counselors were pretty, they practiced good online hygiene. Their
Okay.
supporters were wild.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, you learn about bubbles that people live in because you turn on Instagram or I don't know, Twitter. I'm not going to call it X. And you know, they're like, "Oh man, the Peacocks are getting schooled, idiots." And then you'd go over to Blue Sky and the comments were just like, "Oh my God, guys, Angelita Murillo is so good at this.
Right.
She's like, she is our Princess Di. Holy
They're like
crap.
Slay Queen. all
Slay
that-
Queen, yes. I have never seen anybody be this good. I love Candace. She's doing great. But Angelita Murillo is just like, man, that's my president. Like, it was wild, the disparate vibes.
The echo chamber.
The echo chamber was absurd. So every comment, somebody, fuck it, I'm just gonna say his name. Nick Caleb, rich eco lawyer Nick Caleb was on there. Like, did you notice so and so's eyebrows when this thing was mentioned? And you're like, what are we're doing facial analysis right now, dude? Yeah, no, that stuff was wild. So the supporters, the donors, the nonprofit directors, they were kind of wild on social media. But no, the counselors themselves were pretty
Okay.
Yeah, they were pretty reserved.
So yeah, and so the first day happens, nothing, it's just deadlocked, right? And
It's
then,
deadlocked. It gets so ugly at the end that Dan Ryan is like, can we please go home and come back tomorrow? This is not getting better. Like, there's almost like a desperate tone where he's like, he's been nice all day.
Yeah.
And he's just like, somebody's going to get smacked. I don't want it to happen. Can we
Yeah,
go home?
yeah.
And so they recess.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this was, I think it was about 8 hours, right? Or something.
Yeah. It was like,
that.
7.5, 8 hours. It was
Okay.
pretty rough. Yeah.
And so then they go into day two. And it only goes on for what, like an hour before the federal shooting stuff
Yeah, I mean, the
happens?
whole video is like 2 hours. I think they only deliberate for like 45
Yeah.
minutes.
And I
Yeah.
think that, I could be wrong, but isn't that where Steve did his speech about, these guys are under investigation, and was that the day
He'd
2?
brought that up in day
Oh,
one
that's
as
day
well.
1. Okay.
Councilor Pertolini has made the trains run on time. She does a whole lot of, detailed work on budgets and procedures and so on and so forth that I wouldn't want to do. And I'm grateful that the train hasn't completely run off the tracks. I also need to say that I'm deeply uncomfortable with the idea of electing a member of the Peacock group to the presidency. I'm worried that somebody who's a member until the last minute of a close-knit group will certainly be subject to the perception of unfairness, that they'll always be favoring the members of the group, if not the reality. I don't see Peacock just as an ideological group. I think of it as a private club. I also am virtually certain that there's times when members of Peacock have, against their better judgment, cast a vote because they didn't want to get in trouble with their fellow Peacock members. And then there's that August 6th meeting that's under investigation by the Ethics Commission. It worries me that somebody who comes from a self-segregated group will feel peer pressure to act in leadership the way that group wants them to act. I would love it if Peacock were disbanded. I also have to say that I think that the idea that we might be locked into an endless 6-6 vote is ridiculous and reflects either a flaw in the charter itself or the interpretation of the charter.
Day 2, yeah. So Steve gives a great speech, and I linked to it in my Substack, about, how he respects all these people, but he just can't vote for a Peacock because they're under investigation. They have a private club. And he's like, if you look at the data, and Maya Vicklands-Harris at Rose City Reform has this data.
I'll say shout out to her because I didn't seen that until I think you put it in one of your articles. But it's really interesting. Yeah.
She's good with data. The lady.
And that's something I never thought of like this whole charter, you're supposed to have district-based representation, and that's not what these guys are doing.
Yeah, so just for people listening who aren't going to look this up, Novick brings this up, Vicklands-Harris brings this up. They voted along group lines, block, caucus lines, even on district-based issues. They voted for the block before they voted for their district. And you can see this in the data. And this is something Steve brings up. The reason I know this is a private club and it's not ideological is that you voted with each other on non-ideological issues. You voted with each other over issues where like your actual constituents told you they didn't want something, but you still voted with the block. Your loyalty is to the Peacock first.
Yeah.
And
literally a party line is what I would argue.
Yes,
like you're going party before your people.
That is operating as a party. Yeah. And so this is where you get people going, well, the DSA isn't a party. And like the first pinned post on their Instagram is the DSA a party? And then when you scroll to the next slide, not legally, but we certainly act like one. Yeah. And you go, okay. So
I don't think there's any way they could argue against that. And even the Oregon law that I've called out a lot of the time, it's really broad and it says any organized committee or like political group. Or
no, at best.
So they're in that category.
Exactly. At best, they are in flagrant violation of the spirit of the charter. Yeah. Even if every attorney in town says, well, it is a technicality, sure. But the spirit of the charter is horribly violated by what they're doing. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I've said it a million times, but not only the city charter, but the ORS is what I'm talking about.
Oh, sure.
And the definition, I'll put it up here, but it's very inclusive as to what they mean by a political group or party or committee. You can't be promoting those things. And that, I mean, I would say these guys are going well beyond promoting it when they're literally voting on issues as a party before their own constituents.
I mean, they're whipping votes along party lines, which you are allowed to do in a partisan system. And there are rules around vote whipping. There's no rules around vote whipping in a nonpartisan city council because you shouldn't be whipping votes. You shouldn't have a whip. Yeah.
So anyway, but I was going to say, and I think one of the reasons Steve was really fired up in that little speech is because he was like, I was dragged into this by the group chat.
He looked really bad in that story and he was pissed. But he was also pissed because like if it's just a social group and it's not a political party and it's not a block, then why isn't he invited? If it's just bros broing out and being progressive, Steve Novick is progressive. Alana Pertolini is progressive. This was my big angry reporting about the Willamette Week, is that the whole time, the DSA especially has run this idea that we've got moderates, we've got a moderate block and a progressive block, and that is a lie. It's just branding. It's just political theater. The council's full of progressives, and then it's got some communists on it. Let's just call them what they are. And
Yeah, no,
some of the progressives side with the communists, and some of the progressives don't, and it's stupid.
yeah, and I'm not speaking for all the counselors, but I was gonna say when Taylor from the mayor's office was here, that's what he said too. He's like, hey, because I was bringing up about being hyper partisan, and he was like, well, everyone in there is progressive.
He's like,
So,
how can we be partisan? And yes. Yeah. He didn't say the stuff about the communists. That's me.
Yeah,
But
no, I agree though. Like you can't. Certainly wouldn't characterize anyone in there as a moderate bloc.
No.
And even if you did, they don't coordinate in the same way as the
They
Peacock
don't at
bloc
all.
does.
No, and you look at their votes, they vote independently from one another. Sometimes they side with the Peacock, sometimes they don't.
Yeah,
Sometimes
there's historical record of all that.
yeah, you've got and again, shout out to Rose City Reform. Good data crunching. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
that is cool. I was honestly surprised to see that from her. But yeah, shout out to her. And
Yeah.
so yeah, and then it gets interrupted on the second day with the federal shooting thing. And
Federal shooting.
walk people through what happened, because my understanding is like, I don't know how much debate there was, but they were like, we got to do a press conference, and there was a split of like, the Peacocks are going to do theirs, the mayor, EPG, everyone else, or a lot of other folks kind of did one. So what happened there?
So this is back to something that Eric Zimmerman said when he was criticizing Samir Canel's record. Back when the troops,
That's
right?
right,
The National Guard was going to be deployed. There was some meetings about how do we respond to this best, and Alana Purtle-Guinea and the mayor and a lot of the sort of the main characters of Portland politics said we need a united front. Our front needs to spread calm, but we are also resisting this, and we are going to handle this in the courts, and we are going to handle this appropriately, and we are going to win because we are not going to freak out. And this goes back to the don't take the bait thing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the allegations Zimmerman leveled is that the DSA, especially in Canal, were very into kind of taking the bait, because they had that whole idea of like, it doesn't matter what we do, like they're going to come, we can't stop them, so what we have to do is prepare to fight them in the streets, was kind of the vibe. Well, it turns out it did matter what we did. And Dan Rayfield, shout out to Dan Rayfield, who everyone on that council loves. Rayfield scrapped it up in the courts, which is his literal job and why we elected him. And he won several times because he's good at his job. And so it turned out the mayor and the chief of police and Alana Purtle-Guinea and all the level heads in that room were right? That was one of Portland. That was an example of Portland doing things much better than other places. So now we've got this Border Patrol shooting, which is not an ICE shooting, but it followed.
Right, the Minneapolis.
Yeah, if it followed the Minneapolis shooting. And this, in that moment, I was terrified this was going to be sort of our Jacob Blake moment, where it's like two horrible things happen within a day of each other. They're not as similar as they appear by first blush, right? But it's just the 1-2 punch that people need to start like setting 7-Elevens on fire. And so again, they recess, they have the meeting. Alana Purtle-Guinea is still technically acting council president, and she's like, we're doing the press conference thing again. We're doing the calm. This is horrible. We're going to respond to this as a city. We're going to we're going to figure out the facts first. We are not going to have people in the street throwing bricks first, right? And so they were like, anybody come to the press conference you want to come to. And Avalos showed up at the press conference.
Yeah, I was say she was there, yeah.
I think Dunphy might have been too.
Yeah, there was a couple folks.
There's a couple, but it was the big official press conference, and it was a good press conference. It spread calm. It said, hey, again, this isn't, I know emotions are running high, but there are some differences in what happened in Minneapolis versus what happened here. This was not ICE. There's a lot of variables we need to consider.
Yeah, and I was going to say too, I guess people probably went through it and they recognized, but it was so early on that like there wasn't really anything known other than 2 people were shot and they went to the hospital. And,
yes, exactly. But it's like it only takes a little bit of rumors to say like, well, they're dead, and it's like, well, they're okay. With one, they're not dead, and thank God for that. Like that's good. But so again, spread calm, wait. Dan Rayfield swings in. He's like, I'm going to do an independent investigation. I'm not going to take the FBI's word at this. Fine, great, trust but verify, wonderful. And then that evening, the DSA not even the Peacock, the DSA, held a rally in front of City Hall, and they only invited peacocks. And that rally was a little uglier than people want to admit. Their guest speaker was part of the national DSA leadership, this is the irony. They invite Knuckles Martinez, who is a Chavista. She is I'm not saying she tweeted once that Nicolas Maduro is cute. She is a outspoken Chavista. She supports the communist regime in Venezuela. And the irony is that you've got two Venezuelan nationals who have been shot. These two people are allegedly Venezuelan refugees.
Right.
Why do we have Venezuelan refugees?
Say they're fleeing
Yes.
the area that this person's supporting.
Exactly. So it's the shitty like optics and ugliness of the DSA just being like, we love communism. Communist revolutionaries are so cool. Here, let's bring a Chavista in who's like friendly to Putin, friendly to North Korea. Like this woman is not a solid
Not a
moral
model citizen.
Yeah, this is not a person I would want to put on a moral pedestal, but she is a former undocumented immigrant. So I guess there's that aspect of her personality that makes her appropriate. You could find another former undocumented immigrant to be your,
Yeah.
but she's DSA leadership. She's representative of what the DSA actually believe now, like what they promote. And so there was just some ugly, like, yeah, get people super riled up. The press didn't cover it correctly. It wasn't a giant rally with thousands of Portlanders. It was a couple hundred people. And if you look at the photos of the crowd, it's all DSA members. It was just a DSA political rally.
Yeah, I actually didn't read anything about it other than there were these two press conferences.
Yep.
But that's what I would expect is that because the other one I watched, I think
Yeah.
all of it, and it's like county people, city people, the
State
police,
people. It was a
yeah.
unified
Yeah, I
front
think
to
was the
respond.
governor there? I think.
The governor was on her way. I think she
Okay,
was in
yeah.
transit somewhere. I don't think she was there.
But yeah, so that's what I would expect is like it's this little. And I just want to say really quick, I'm so on this idea, but that's the kind of thing that I would highlight as an example of like, listen, I know this is a turbulent event that happened, and they all are trying to navigate it politically in all these different ways. But if any staff time was spent organizing that press conference, that's the illegal shit that I'm talking about.
Yeah,
of,
because
like,
it's a DSA
you can't call your
rally.
DSA political party group and then say, hey, let's organize a thing. Let's get these counselors in. Let's get these staffers in. That would break the ORS that I have been talking about for the past like 4 episodes.
Yeah, this is the only thing that rally served was to rile up the DSA, which again, it was not reported as a DSA event. So this put the city on a bit of a hold for like a week, right? While the city dealt with that. And the drama around that event did fade because turns out calmer heads prevailed and there were a lot of differences in that shooting.
Yeah.
There were a lot of
And
differences and we're still investigating it, but
yeah, I was gonna say I told this to Taylor and I still feel this way, and I know, like, you know, some people really gave Bob Day a lot of shit for crying at that press conference.
Oh my
but I thought that like they actually laid out all the information that they had available, and it was just a clear. It's like, okay, now we have a way clearer picture of what happened here.
Yeah.
And yeah, and over time, like you said, some of that kind of heated stuff dissipated, and we're like, okay, we can
and again, I
go through the proper just like systems to figure this out rather than.
Like, I can't speak for Bob Day. I don't know the man personally. I don't have any insider information in this regard, but I know if you are running a city, especially a hyper progressive city like Portland, Minneapolis, Chicago, right? These moments always feel like right on the precipice of again, that the riots that happened after the shooting of Jacob Blake, a man who is still alive, you know, thankfully. Like, it was so swift, it was so brutal. Immigrant businesses were burned. Like, that was a bad period. And it was because, in part, of just shitty leadership and a really bad response, people's feelings being up about the George Floyd like tragedy, and it was just too close. It was like too close, and the emotions boiled over, and a lot of very, very good people got hurt because of that. It was just terrible leadership. not spreading calm, not, again, wait and see. What was the story with this case? Is this case even all that similar to this other horrific case that you are rightfully upset about? But like, is this really going to snowball? Do we want this to snowball? And so I don't know. I'm sure he cried because two people getting shot, even if they're both still alive, is really tragic. It's always tragic.
Right.
Right? We just had two police officers shot here in Portland, and some people were sad about that, and a lot of people were kind of cracking jokes, which is, you know, violence against human beings is tragic. But yeah, I don't know why he cried, but it's ridiculous that Bob Day is the police chief that progressive Portland wanted.
Yeah.
They wanted him. They got him.
That's why
I'm satisfied with him.
Yeah. And honestly, like when because that was like early in that press conference when he started crying, and I was kind of like, because I've never been a super fan of his, but once he finished the whole thing, I was like, okay, that was a pretty balanced presentation. And I agree with you. It's like, I would argue you probably couldn't find a more progressive chief than that. And like
He's what Portland asked for.
Yeah, like it's
I'm like doing the non-ironic you get what you voted for. Like I'm fine because I like Bob Day. Like again, I don't know him personally. We're not close, but like I like the guy. And he is the leadership that Portlanders ask for. And so then they're gonna like, and you always want to bust the police chief's chops a little bit. It's good and healthy, but then he's got like the right-wing media ecosphere just tearing into him for crying.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like there was any support from the left to be like, whoa, hey,
no,
two people were shot. Like if somebody, you get emotional about that, that's just being human. I didn't see any defense. So the whole thing was wild. But again, throughout that, I thought Bob Day did a great job. I thought the mayor did a great job. I thought Ilana Purtle-Guiney, again, put in that position, did a great job. And it showed me that if that had wrapped up on day one and Samir Canel was our council president when that shooting happened, I don't want
It's
that.
a weird
I don't want that
universe to picture.
Yeah, I don't want that. So I think we dodged something
Yeah,
on that.
that's true.
So
well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is what you're about to say, but I just like, in my opinion, that forking of these two press conferences, created this kind of momentum for some people to say, hey, Samir is our guy. Samir needs to be the person to respond morally to this. And I completely disagree with the way Sophie and the Willamette we kind of framed. I would say she made an article that was basically an endorsement piece for Samir.
Yeah, given the racial tone of America, given the immigrant tone of America, given that Zimmerman was rude, given et cetera, and then called Ilana Purtle-Guiney a moderate like 12 plus times in the article. And I snapped. Like I snapped at that. I wrote a letter to her and her editor. And I was like, this is outrageous. This is just factually, this is a nonsensical article. And it's not a puff piece. It's an endorsement.
It's an editorial at best. I don't know. I just found it highly opinionated. And I particularly disagreed with, she said something like the clear moral kind of leadership between these two groups.
Yeah, the moral beacon coming from the DSA is outrageous.
That's not journalism. When you're taking a moral side of things that happened like a couple days before, like that's a clear opinion from her, and I really disagreed with that.
I know, and again, if the normie side, like if Purtle-Guiney and the mayor and the police bureau and everybody had been like, I don't know, we're looking into it, no press conference needed, and Samir Canel and the DSA had been the only people to try to comment on this, sure, okay, let's talk about how in a moment of potential crisis, they were the clear ringing bell of a voice, period. But that's not true, right?
Yeah.
They weren't a clear ringing bell of a voice. They were a voice to their tiny base. Couple hundred people showed up. It was almost exclusively DSA and some adorable old hippies who just hate war and violence, and that's really cute. And then there's a press conference that goes out on every news channel in this state.
Right.
So what is the clear ringing bell of a unified voice? It's the leadership of the city and Dan Rayfield and Tina Kotek's office and the normal political apparatus that you would expect it to come from. They didn't abdicate. They did their jobs well. And it did feel like Peel was kind of being like, nah, I don't really know that they did. Look at that Samir guy. Let's put a dreamy picture of him.
Yeah, the whole thing felt kind of like, I don't know, beyond an endorsement, I would say. Like just a push. Like if she could have made a vote, she made that vote in that article.
And it just in this moment.
And it was weird because just this is my thing. I don't expect that from Willamette Week. Anyone working there, that's usually not kind of the path that they take. But I was stunned at the uh, kind of just bias. There's no impartialness to that. Like it's
No.
just it was very strange, and obviously things didn't end up that way. We got Jamie Dunphy, but
Jimmy Dunphy.
I just wanted to say that I think that that was completely inappropriate. And as somebody who's donated to Willamette Week, I don't
Yeah.
support that kind of bullshit. I don't
No,
think that
that-
that's cool.
No, that was bad. And I mean, I wrote my letter. I published the letter because Aaron Mesh, the editor in chief, was a dick to me. So I was like, all right. And he was a dick to me, and he ended it with, and you can quote me on that.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, cool. Well, I'm publishing this letter. I was going to leave that alone, and it was just going to
Yeah.
be between two people. But okay. No, it was rough. And so this went on for like a week. And they got back to their sort of emergency morning meeting to try to find a president. And right before the shooting,
Mhm.
Zimmerman had done a really interesting pivot where he had nominated Loretta Smith and Steve Novick at the same time, because the
Okay,
idea was like,
okay.
we're deadlocked on Portal Guinea, Canal. Let's just consider some new people. It's cool. It's an interesting compromise. And it puts the lie to Angelita Murillo's claim that y'all don't ever compromise with us. We're trying to compromise the whole time. And that's why it's Samir Canal or we can burn the city to the ground. We don't care. Government can just shut down. Everything can die of, everything can atrophy. Samir Canal or nobody. Compromise with us.
Yeah.
So Zimmerman put together some other options. And I don't know, that third day was sad. It was
Was
it was just sad. It
Okay.
just, they went round and round, and
And didn't it open that day with EPG saying, I'm stepping back or
no,
was
she
that
stepped back a little later. But yes,
Okay.
she gave two really good short speeches. One on maturity. Yeah, actually, no, you're kind of right. She stepped back early. She gave a really short speech on maturity, which I thought was really, really good. And then she gave a short speech on like working together and compromise. And essentially, she just kept reminding people, like, we have to work together tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And
Mhm.
this has gotten so ugly. And most of the other counselors kind of followed that tone, again, except for Murillo,
Right.
Koyama Lane, Avalos. Those three just stayed on that talking point of Eric Zimmerman was racist to us with dog whistles. Everybody else here is not calling it out, so they're racist to us with dog whistles. Ilana Purtle-Guinea's a bully. Y'all are playing games. You just can't accept that Samir Canal is the only qualified candidate in the whole wide world. He's the greatest man who ever lived. Also, he's brown. And then cut back to Canal going, stop, 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 stop.
It's like you're not helping.
You're not helping. This is not helpful. I am qualified or I am not qualified. So, like Samir still looks good at the end. He finally eventually concedes. Avalos does this weird thing where she's like, and see, he's so magnanimous, he even conceded, completely retconning from her mind that Purtle-Guinea had conceded like 45 minutes earlier. And then it's just an awkward back and forth. Dunphy gets thrown in the last minute. He doesn't want it.
Who nominated it? I'm trying to remember.
Oh, gosh. Samir Canal, I think,
Okay,
but I'd have to
okay.
check my notes. Yeah, Dunphy gets thrown in the last minute. He says some stuff which I quite like, which is like, I'm going to rise to this occasion or I'm going to sink. And if you guys want to toss me out, it's a 9 vote to toss out the president. And he's like, and I will be the 9th vote. I promise you that. You only need 8. You
I
will
didn't know that. Yeah.
He said that. And I appreciate it. If he's telling the truth, I appreciate it. He said, I'm leaving the Peacock. And you only need 8 to kick me out, because if you can get 8 votes, I will be the
Be the
9th.
last one. Yeah.
We actually said anytime it's brought up, I'll just vote to kick me out. Like he's like, I'm an auto vote to kick me out because I am sitting this chair until you don't want me. So that was good. The tone by that point, everybody was just so beaten down and sad.
Right.
And there had been, scandals about any number of things in the meantime. OPB had tried to run a hit piece on Loretta Smith,
Oh, that's right.
allegedly for union busting.
Yeah, I forgot. Because I remember you listed, I think the Willamette Week and that one. There was like a bunch of hit pieces came out, but that one went
Yeah.
after her.
That one was just like a random, just Loretta. Like you could tell that was placed
It
like
was
the
kinda
night
like-
before.
As soon as she got nominated, they're like, we gotta.
We gotta find
Write something about
Union
it.
Buster. Just
Yeah.
let's take aim on Loretta Smith. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
huh.
Like there was just a lot of ugly. The Mercury and the OPB and even Willamette Week, which disappointed me, engaged in a little bit of like Here's why it can't be Alana Purtle-Guinea. And then in that third day, she just gives a series of small speeches where she proves it should have been her. Like, by the end of that, I was just sad. Because I've been clear on this podcast and in my writing, I'm not an Alana Purtle-Guinea voter. She's just real good at the job. She just
Yeah.
is qualified. She is the
Yeah.
woman for the job.
I would agree with that too. I'm like, I don't even know as a counselor if I'm super supportive of her, but as the council president, she's a fantastic.
Yeah, that's it. We don't agree on a lot of politics. I don't think that we share a lot of, we agree on where Portland needs to go, and I don't think we agree on how we get there. Hers is going to be more taxes. It's going to be more government programs. It's going to be, and mine is going to be looking at what we're overspending on and looking at how to, our city was flourishing with a much smaller budget and much smaller programs. So like, how do we find the balance between those two things? But she's a person that I'd be happy to debate that with. I'd happy to have arguments with
Yeah.
every day about that.
She's civil and cordial and all
That's
that
it.
stuff. Yeah.
And then my biggest surprise of the whole process was just Steve Novick.
Mm.
I disagree with him on so much, and he came out of that process looking. If you voted for Steve Novick, you should vote for him again. Like, because he gave you exactly the thing that he told you. Like, same thing with Alana Purtle-Guinea. If you were an Alana Purtle-Guinea voter, then barring some sort of horrible disaster between now and 2028, where she just like, I don't know, racks up 300 parking tickets or something, like you should vote for her again because she gave you exactly what she promised she would get. I mean, these are, I can say that they left that process like sort of covered in glory of being who they said they were.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Is there anything else to say about the president election?
Again, I think it'll be good in the long run. It was a sad compromise. Samir Canel being president would have been really, really bad.
Yeah.
It was never going to happen. It's ugly that they drug it out so long. And I think everybody revealed kind of who they were. And if Angelita Murillo wasn't up for re-election this year, I would be raising money to recall her. Because the behavior that she exhibited in that room was so unbecoming. Like, okay, there's a council policy about casting aspersions on the motivations of your fellow councilors.
I know. Sometimes I'll hear him call that out and be like,
we're not impugning.
Right, yeah.
We're not impugning. And she does it all the time, as often as she would like. And she cheats around it by being like, I'm just, sort of the Oprah, like I'm just telling my truth. Well, okay, your truth is involving mind reading. Your truth is involving knowing what I feel in my heart. And I'm saying I would like another glass of water or something. And you're like, he doesn't really want another glass of water. He just wants to make you get up and walk across the room to prove that he could do it. And it's like, what? Let's not do it. But this is what she does as often as she would like. So aside from just the interruptions, the impugning the motives of others, she's the first one to hop on social media and be like, this counselor's a coward, that state senator's a coward. Like, oh my God. I can't imagine that, but for the 2,000 voters who really loved her, the rest of her voters, I can't imagine that they're getting what they thought they were getting with her.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm in my head. I'm trying to I have to take a piss. So I'm like, should I go now?
You should go now.
I guess I should. I have literally never done this before.
Let's take a break.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, and I have a thing in here about 2026 election or city council elections.
Yeah.
We can talk about that, but I am curious to see how that's going to go for her. And I don't know. I think that she's she's like the social media person on there, and I think she's kind of depending on that to carry her through. But I mean, I agree. I don't think I've said it many times on here. I just don't think, like when you were saying that a second ago, I feel like unfit is a word that pops into my thing of just like, and I've said this to you before. I feel like her and Candace, they really just want to be influencers. They're more into that than being a city councilor. And I know her name's Policy Angel and she's into that, but like just looking at their behavior over a couple years, it's like they're way more into the shit slinging online and offline, so
Yeah.
it just doesn't. I don't
Yeah.
understand where they fit into like any city council, but
This is the test, right? It's like, what do people want? Do they want, so you look at Zoran Mamdani in New York. He took
Right.
office and he has started to moderate a bit. He's still very, very left, but he started to moderate. He started to distance himself from positions that he held in college, which was not that long ago, positions that he's held even a few years ago. He's moderating. AOC moderated, right? A lot of these like DSA candidates moderate a bit because you kind of have to. You're seeing a little bit of that. Mitch Green maybe is attempting to moderate in the suits and working well with others. Samir Canel certainly went from a very police abolitionist background and is trying to paint himself as a police accountability activist. Right? These are moderating points. Angelina Murillo is not moderating,
right.
and so this is the test. I mean, she's betting that Portlanders want a little bit of that, internet like drama. They want a little bit of that like Hassan Piker,
Yeah.
jokes and memes and shitting on people. They would it's good TV
Yeah.
and it is good TV.
Yeah.
I said the other day it was like Angelina Murillo is like Jasmine Crockett but without all the good parts. Right? She's like the sassy quips.
Yeah.
And she's smart. I'm not saying she's dumb. I'm just saying like I can't point to like the things she's done where I'm like, man, she's annoying and inappropriate, but like, hey, at least she's a good vote on these issues, which I can easily say that about Jasmine Crockett. I can be like, hey, I kind of like Jasmine Crockett, but but she's got that like brawler spirit. Murillo just has the brawler spirit. She just wants to fight with people online.
Definitely. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if this makes sense, but I forget the guy's name who did the whole Minnesota fraud thing, and there's this whole group of what people would call right-wing influencers
Oh
who I don't
God,
even really.
Nick Shirley.
Yeah, and I don't even really like most of them, but I would she's like the inverse of that.
Okay, yeah.
Like it just seems like she wants to be on that playing field of like
I could see.
she
Yeah.
got easy enemies like that. It's all online. It's a really kind of like
Yeah.
hyper political world of
Yes.
day to day, hour to hour, things are changing, and
But extremely overly dramatic, overwrought. Okay, yeah. I mean, and this is the DSA being left MAGA, though, right? Like this is
exactly, yeah.
like the like 3 Republican readers I have are so mad at me. That you got to stop saying that. No, it's true. Listen, you're economic and social populists who are like riding a wave of people. Okay, there's a real thing here, which is that, like, yes, the average person doesn't feel that the system is working for them. They feel like the bureaucrats who have been in power for generations don't care about them, and they're just all kind of trading favors with each other. And there's definitely a lot of that actually going on. But then the answer to that is not listening to a person who is transparently a con artist, or like really transparently a con artist who has clearly stated other motives, right, with the DSA. Just go on their podcasts. Just go on the podcasts where they don't think the normies are listening, and you listen to what their plans are, and their plans are not making your city more affordable. Their plans are making your city more affordable by fundamentally transforming the way in which the city even functions. So, like, I was thinking about this. There were communists marching in the streets of America yesterday, like a lot of communists, like with big banners that said, hell yes, we're communists, right? This is not like, we're the Freedom Road Socialist Organization and we're communist adjacent, but actually socialism and communism. No, it was like the American Communist Party, right? Like marching in the streets, and
There's
you had
no
these
confusion there.
There's no confusion, but you had these like Nick Shirley types posting online and going, see, America's about to fall. Like, America's not about to fall. These kids are never going to put me against a wall and execute me, right? What they're going to do is they're just going to break a bunch of crap trying. Like they're not going to transform our society. America's not coming out of this as a non-capitalist country. But, that question of why is Portland not recovering?
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. It's like what it does do is it's an economy destroyer. That's what
Yes.
I call the Peacock block, and specifically the DSA is. And you know what's funny is I don't know if you remember the capital gains tax that Portland tried to pass a couple of years ago.
Yes.
But the DSA was behind that.
Yeah.
And if that thing had passed, every single one of these DSA counselors is in that tax the rich bracket.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
are
yeah.
the rich.
Yes.
So
And this is
they
where
would be taxing themselves, and I'm sure they would be like, well, that's fine, but it points out the kind of disconnection of their reality to what they kind of sell politically.
yeah. And and you see this with their so ooh, we'll do a libertarian thing. We'll do a libertarian thing. Reason Magazine actually had a really cute video recently about taxing the rich
Mhm.
and income inequality,
Right.
and how actually the way that we calculate income inequality in our country is really, really flawed.
Hmm.
It's very, very, very flawed, right? And if you go to the Scandinavian social democracies, not democratic socialist countries, social democracies, you will find that they calculate their income inequality differently than we do. And they don't spend their time obsessed with the oligarchs, the
Right,
ceiling.
right.
They spend their time obsessed with the floor. They want to lift people out of poverty. If some people are fabulously wealthy, but everybody is doing a lot better, is that the most ideal thing in the world? Sure. I don't know that I love that there's billionaires running around, but I am less obsessed with billionaires and more obsessed with how everybody at the bottom is doing. That's effective, right?
Hmm.
One of the examples provided was like, if you could take the real wealth of every American today, press a magic button, and the real wealth of every American doubled, would you do it? And if you're sane, the answer is yes. Even though it would hugely spike income inequality, because a billionaire would be worth twice as much.
Right.
But your neighbor would also have twice as much wealth. Everybody would be doing better. And this is the obsession with the ceiling and not the obsession with the floor.
Right,
The
right.
DSA stuff is the Working Families Party stuff. It's getting you pissed off at this billionaire oligarch class, and you spend all your time worried about the they, the them who have the things you don't have. And this is similar to what the Nick Shirleys and the right-wing media, the thems, the theys, Nancy Pelosi, whatever,
Right.
be obsessed with their crap, get really, really angry, and then enact incredibly reactionary policies to try to punish.
Yeah, whatever that target is. Yeah.
Yes. It's just tiresome.
When what ends up happening in a place here like Portland is, this tax it's just like tax blank, tax whoever kind
Yeah.
of methodology. What ends up happening is there's just nobody hiring anybody because that's the way I see it, is like they're just anti-economy. They don't want employment. They don't want healthy businesses. Like the stupid hot dog cart idea that, like, you need people to work at the larger and medium-sized businesses to buy the fucking hot dogs.
Yeah.
Like, you can't.
So this is
We're not exporting hot dogs from those stands to Seattle or the whole world,
no.
And that's the kind of stuff that economic development's about. Like, you need traded sector businesses, like I said before, and these guys are just so off the plot. They would never bring that up because that's big business to them.
Yeah.
And they don't want employment. That's the whole thing. Is like they
unless
want
it's
state
public
employment.
Yeah, unless it's public. So, and this is where you can tell that none of these people have ever really, they may have worked in service industry in college, but they don't.
They're so far from the reality of what we need. It's just incredible.
Yeah, so I'm a service worker, right? I'm a personal trainer, which is the same thing as a barber, a hairstylist,
Right. Service industry.
counselor, right? I have the ability to start my own business. I might eventually employ somebody else, but right now it's just me. I'm a solopreneur or whatever. And I cannot provide services to extremely poor people because I have to pay rent. I have to rent out my services to people who have access to money. This is not millionaires. Mitch Green will talk about, oh, millionaire flight is fake. I don't care about millionaires. My clients are the middle class. They are people who earn about $150,000 a year. Some less. I don't want to make it seem like all my clients are doing really, really well, but most of them. Let's talk about that $150,000 a year person. That person's mobile. That person will move to Clackamas. That person will move to Vancouver. The majority of clients that I lose, I tend to work with people for multiple years, and we're very successful because I'm good at my job. They leave me because they left Oregon, and a lot of them have left. And again, this is not a woe is me, please PayPal me. I'm okay. There's always more people. But because some of the trainers have left as well, right? And so you just take on their client pool. But you can talk to hairstylists, you can talk to barbers, you can talk to tattoo artists, anybody who's in that middle tier service work, the personal care and
Professional
professional
services, yeah.
services,
Mhm.
we are feeling it because our clients disappear. I need Nike to hire a bunch of people because
Right.
Nike employees hire me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just an economy.
Yeah.
It's not feudalism. It's
Yeah.
not, I don't feel particularly exploited by the horrible system and the oligarchs. I don't think about the oligarchs very often.
Right. Because Oregon, honestly, we have like one, and his
We have
name's
like
Phil
one,
Knight.
yeah, yeah.
That's
Well,
pretty much it.
yeah, we've got like one billionaire in town. We've got Phil Knight. We got like the Dutch Bros. We got like a couple of, oh my.
Yeah.
So this is where tax the rich fails too, because there aren't enough fabulously wealthy people to tax them all and support these services.
Mhm.
Again, you go to your dream Scandinavian country and they are not taxing the rich. They're taxing the rich and they're taxing the middle class heavily. But
Yeah.
the middle class gets a huge amount of services for
Right,
that.
right.
Yeah, it's just a very different system. The populist argument is like, let's just get you pissed off at somebody. Let's get you really mad at somebody.
Yep. Yeah.
And yeah, it's ugly. Uh but you know, what do I know? I'm a right-wing
Podcast bro.
podcast bro or whatever they called me.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're a good example of a business owner because I keep bringing this up of you know, the mayor wants to double the business tax exemption in Portland, and I don't think a lot of people know. I think the effective business tax rate in Portland's around like 5% because the city has like a 2.5% thing. But like I was just saying, somebody like you, there's a lot of people who look at that and say, hey, there's a city right next door that has 0% business tax, and I could just move there.
I know.
So I don't know. It's just one of those things that we have a pretty elevated, I would say, horrible tax environment for businesses to operate. And a lot of these economy destroyer DSA folks just want to add on top of that to deliver these services, which don't even work, like preschool for all, which caters to a demographic that we don't even fucking have here.
It's also a
People
redundant.
don't even have kids.
It's also a redundant service with the state program, and there
Right, Head
I have
Start.
friends who benefit from preschool for all, but it's been a disaster of over earning. They
Yeah, and I'm just bringing it up because the capital gains, these are all DSA projects that
yes,
are heavily funded. They do signature gathering, all this shit. And
Oh, yeah.
and a lot of them, sometimes they don't work out, but a lot of times they do. And it's all with what you were just describing. If they find this elite enemy
yeah.
to tax,
Well,
and then it destroys our economy. And also, these are the same people that are in that tax bracket.
well, and then when stuff doesn't work, what happens is you have some horrible moderate like Julia Brim Edwards.
Mhm.
I'm being sarcastic. Who brings forward a proposal to, say, index that tax to inflation,
Inflation, yeah.
which is a progressive taxation model. What that would do is make sure that people who can't afford the tax aren't accidentally getting sucked up into the bottom level of the tax through inflation, right?
Mhm.
So it would make sure you are taxing the rich. It would make sure you're not accidentally taxing the lower middle class. And then the DSA comes forward and they make two arguments. The argument they make to their people is this would bankrupt our preschool for all fund if they did this. But if it did, and I've said this many times, then you're admitting that you're not taxing the rich. You're admitting that you're just taxing the middle class. Because if cutting the tiniest sliver off the bottom, the middle class people who can least afford this tax, freeing them from that burden and only taxing the upper range, you're admitting a couple of things. You're admitting that upper range is not very big. And you're admitting that you don't care about the working families also, you know, all too much. And then the other thing is they don't make this argument too much in public because that's obviously a stupid argument and someone like me can come along and tear it down. So they just show up and they flood city council, they flood the county with testifiers who step up there and go, the reason preschool is important for children. You know, everyone agrees preschool is important for children.
Yeah.
We're talking about tax policy, but without a preschool, we couldn't, like, they
Right.
won't engage
just
with the issue.
That
They
single message.
and it's nice squishy feelings, and it's always like a single mom with an autistic child who has this lovely story, and then I like listen to her story and I go, yeah, and your kid would still get preschool if we indexed it to inflation. We just
Mhm.
wouldn't be brutalizing lower middle class
Right,
family.
right.
Like, I still want your kid to get preschool, but this is probably the ugliest and most ham-fisted way to do it. Why don't we do it in a more elegant way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard because it's such a kind of simplistic conversation. A lot of the same thing with the small business thing I was saying earlier. It's
Yeah.
like there's nobody out here who hates small business,
No.
but it's really like it's so simplistic to just say big business bad. Um,
Small business
People who
good.
don't want preschool for all bad, or just preschool in general.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, we're having the more adult, like complex conversation over here about how this actually works and
Because
how
it
it's
has to work.
funded and
It has to work. Yeah.
and or if it ends up like here where, hey, we just have like $600 million which we didn't even spend on this thing. What is that? Well, they're not going to entertain that conversation because we want preschool. Like it's just like you're just like talking to a wall. Like
Yeah.
sometimes, it's
Yeah.
like they don't want to engage in the actual conversation. It's
Yeah. And again, the city's not going to like, they're not going to burn the city to the ground. But I think back on like the PSU library
Mhm.
as like the perfect encapsulation of the DSA's effect on Portland. You take over the PSU library, you do $1 million worth of damage. You accomplish nothing. PSU library is rebuilt. PSU isn't out of business. It was financially damaging to the institution. It was embarrassing. It was gross. Then you got Mitch Green threatening PSU so they don't press charges on it. So no one is held accountable for the damage that was done. And materially, what was the gain for taking over the PSU library? You changed its name for a couple of days. You did $1 million plus worth of damage. And then it's gone and it's over and nobody talks about it again. That's how we're going to look back on the DSA period in Portland. It's just going to be this like sort of sad, embarrassing period where they came in, smashed some stuff, cost us millions and millions of dollars, no material gain. Not the highest of crimes committed, but just like a sad, ugly embarrassment. So we could just like speed that up this year and just like
right.
get them
Kind
out
of
of
move past this
get them out of the
period of
library that
lag
is
of
our
yeah.
yeah.
Because that's what I see. Yeah, it is really just like I said, I'm so focused on this Portland reputation thing and Portland's growth in general and financial health.
Yeah.
And these guys are so not interested in that. And they're just creating a net negative on that whole environment.
Yeah.
From what I've seen in the first year and a half,
Yeah.
year and a half.
Portland's coming back. The question is, how many anchors do you want to hang around the neck of Portland while it tries to come back?
Exactly.
How slow do you want this to go? How much pain do you want to go through? How many beloved businesses? Are we going to lose the Sheridan Fruit Company? That would break my heart. There's no need to do that. There's no need to sacrifice these beloved family-owned businesses. But,
Yeah, and that's what frustrates me. It's like they don't talk about that shit. They'll just sit there and float a new tax or talk about the hot dog stands or whatever. But
So-
it's like there's nothing to do with the core issues of
So-
the city.
people should look at the Newsweek article that got published this last week. The DSA, some DSA people leaked to Newsweek documents that DSA leadership has been flirting with the Chinese Communist Party.
Oh, okay.
They've been
I think I
learned.
briefly
They've
saw
been getting
something.
training materials from the Chinese Communist Party, and one of the big things that they've learned is that you don't ever let someone who's debating you or an asshole podcast bro like us, you don't let them ever get you into the weeds. And with China, getting into the weeds on the issue of China would be like looking at the treatment of the Uyghur population, or looking at their saber rattling towards Taiwan, or looking at their human rights abuses, or looking at the. Don't talk about any of that stuff. That's getting into the weeds. And so this is where Mitch Green is unlikely to ever address the PSU threats ever again, because that's
Right.
getting into the weeds. You can't let people focus on the negative crap you're doing, but you also don't want to focus on the consequences. They're not going to talk about the Sheridan Fruit Company unless somehow the Sheridan Fruit Company is saved by a policy that comes out of
Right.
city council, in which case they will take credit for that crap, but they're not gonna.
No, that's really interesting. Yeah, I've never heard that, but that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Because this is what we were just talking about. Like
Yeah.
they're not getting into the actual interesting part of the conversation that
no.
needs to happen. They're just on the surface
Free
level.
transit.
Yeah.
Don't get into the weeds. Free transit, free healthcare,
grocery.
good stuff. Really friendly stuff. Don't let anybody talk to you about anything substantive, especially if it's like a crime you possibly committed. Don't talk about that ever.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And that's a good segue because I was going to get into the OGEC investigation. We didn't really talk about this since the last time you're on. But there's been a couple interesting developments. So yeah, I don't know. Go back and check out the episode with Ciata. She was one of the complainants that filed that thing about this August retreat. You can watch the whole meeting on YouTube. It's on the OGEC channel.
It's rough.
It is, yeah. And I don't know. I've told everyone if you watch that thing, you can tell that these Peacock DSA members are nervous, and they
mean,
have legal representation there, which is one of the other.
They should be nervous.
Yeah. That's kind of one of the, I was like, gonna say the follow-ups to that is there's this whole other complaint filed now because this lawyer has sued the city in the past.
So now
There's a
there
huge conflict of interest
so now there is a pre-ethics investigation
into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then that's a whole separate thing. I thought there was some other thing I was going to mention about it. I don't know. I just find it fascinating that this will be hanging over them for at least the next few months. I don't know. For some reason in my head, I saw there was a May date for the findings, but I read something on, I think it was Willamette Week that was saying it was like earlier than that. But
Yeah.
either way, it's going to hang over these Peacock folks' heads for a while.
Well,
And
if our media is any good, it will, right? This is bad. I mean,
yeah,
again back to I'm tired of their learning.
yes,
Yeah. No, the
yeah.
stupid group chat was supposed to have been. They got a mulligan on that one, right? They got, oh, it's a learning opportunity. Great.
You could have sat through like 200 different PowerPoint decks since that time. And
Exactly.
they have not learned anything.
No,
And,
no.
and I get frustrated, and I'm not trying to disparage him, but like when my last guest, Tom, was on here,
I like Tom, but
there's
yeah.
people that are just like, he couldn't even come to say that the investigation itself is warranted. And like, I don't know.
It's so careful.
I
It's
just
so very
get frustrated
careful.
with people that are like, don't see how egregious this stuff is and how repetitive it is. It's like,
Yes.
this is not the first time. I mean, there's the famous budget session one that
Yeah.
was breaking the law, but there's the window of technicality
Yep.
thing.
And they've had their learning opportunity. And then what did they do? And you said it, right? So this is the attorney that 5 of the 6. And I'll give my compliments to Jamie Dunphy here. Jamie Dunphy didn't take free legal assistance because he can afford a lawyer. They all can. They're all middle class now. And some of them are rich because they were already wealthy. It's fine. The attorney that offered legal services for free is from an organization that handles primarily like indigent defense. And for example, they represented the family of the young black man who was shot by police. Like they're there for those reasons. This is a group that we have friends who donate to this group because this is free legal services for marginalized folks, for people who have been wronged by the government. This is a group that regularly sues the city. And you need groups who regularly sue the city. The ACLU regularly sues the city. That's the ACLU's job. If my First Amendment rights or my civil liberties are violated in some way, I want the ACLU suing the city for me. We have these groups for a reason. But these groups are all very tied to and sort of in love with the Peacock and the DSA. And so now they're giving middle class city councilors free legal services instead of sending that lawyer out to like defend somebody whose civil liberties had been, And then there's the whole conflict of interest where the city council has to approve settlements over a certain amount. And so now this guy's been your lawyer for free, and now you've got to vote on whether or not you're going to approve a $400,000 settlement against a family in East Portland. Is very, very bad. It's ugly. It's stupid. I've heard similar things, rumors going on inside City Hall with the ACLU. These groups, which have a purpose, are like getting into City Hall in ways that are probably going to cause a lot of legal trouble. And they are lawyers. They know better than this. They know better than this.
Right. Yeah.
But it's like everybody's morals just take a pause, and everybody's legal, like.
That's what really gets to me, because it's like, even, Tom was bringing this up. He's like, there's way bigger federal problems. And I'm like, well,
No, I'm tired of that.
You can agree that that's an issue, but you can't ignore the local transgressions and things that are crossing the line. And that's what really bugs me is like, can you just recognize when like the law's broken?
I'm very
You can't ignore it for the local folks. Like,
I'm very, very
I just don't
tired
get
of that.
that.
We hired a guy. His name is Dan Rayfield. His job is to handle that crap, and I think he's doing he's doing the best job he can. I think he's doing a good That's his job locally. No, I've heard this from clients. I've heard this from friends. Well, what do you expect when we've got a felon in the White House? Like, no, you can't play that game.
Playing or digging the same mud or whatever. It just bugs me because it's like, if you're gonna, I don't know, if that's an issue for you of finding these boundaries and crossing them federally, why is it not an issue for you for
It
your
should
city
be.
hall?
Yeah.
Like that's a huge, because
It's
I'm just always a big believer of like, that's where you start. Your local government, they have
yes.
control over our city here. And if those guys are breaking the rules, why does that not matter?
Yeah. It's also how populist movements get started, right? We know this. There's a playbook for populist and extreme and especially extremist movements. You start locally, you start in the school boards. You get onto school
Mm-hmm.
boards, you take advantage of the anger of parents around something going on in the schools. It might be a conservative issue, it might be a progressive issue. It doesn't matter. You find pissed off parents in a small town and you get onto the school boards, and then you use that experience as a school board member to get into city council. And then from city council, you try to run for state rep, state
Mm-hmm.
senate.
That's the pathway.
That's the pathway. So if you're not shutting nonsense down at the school board level or the city council level, that's how you get your, I don't know, what, Lauren Boebert. So whatever political figure you think is like, how did that person get into Congress? Well,
Mm-hmm.
like start combing back through their history, and they climbed up through that same system. And so a lot can be done locally, because locally is, it's easier. It's easier to police stuff locally. It's easier to clean that stuff up. It's easier to make sure that bad ideas aren't coming in at those local levels, because the amounts of money it takes to run campaigns, the amount of people you got to talk to is smaller. Yeah, no, the whole think global, act local is like, yeah, do that.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah. Well, the other reason I said this last week that really bugs me about this whole, just specifically the public meetings thing, because I've laid out before, there's like 4 different laws that these guys break all the time. But specifically, the public meetings law is that, like I said, I talked to leaders from all around Oregon, and it's just not an issue for them. And it's a constant thing in a lot of city halls that like, hey, these are the rules.
They're just the rules.
Don't break them. We're
It's
going to
the
have
rules.
another training maybe this year just to remind everyone. But that culture doesn't exist here in Portland City Hall, and they're just like flagrantly, openly breaking this stuff. And then the city attorney goes like, "Well, I don't know what to tell you. You missed the
Yeah.
window on the.
Yeah, what do you want, man?
You're gonna have to go to the state," and that's kind of what ended up happening. And then they voted unanimously to investigate these guys, and
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. But
And then if you file complaints, they will figure out who you are, and they'll start
do
doing
some
digging into you.
yeah
Yeah.
retribution kind of stuff.
There was an interesting Reddit thread a couple weeks ago. Somebody had posed the question, does anybody here feel afraid to go testify before city council?
Mm.
And quite a lot of people said, yeah, I got a job and like a husband and kids. I'm not like trying to catch the attention of some of our less well-hinged political individuals, and there's something to that, right? There's something really to there's just an ugliness. There's a real ugliness in the city right now. And it, again, it's not all coming from the DSA, but an awful lot of it is.
Yeah.
An awful lot of
Yeah.
it is.
When I think of too about what we were talking about a little bit ago of like, if you're a constituent for example, here in District 3, or any district, and you just don't feel comfortable talking with any of those people, same reason, like you're saying, if you don't want to testify for reasons of your own personal security, not like
Yeah.
physical security, but in any
No.
sense of that word. And these guys are just not interested. They're not so much interested in that. They're more interested in this party agenda.
Yeah.
They're kind of disenfranchising you as a constituent. It's just
Yeah.
incredible. I
Oh
don't know.
yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, I have a friend who she writes a number of op-eds, right? She just writes op-eds. She's been doing it for years. She just likes writing into the Oregonian. It's fun. It's pretty normal Portland liberal mom stuff, right? Just oh hey, I thought this was really cool. We should do more of this. Oh, this was embarrassing. I think the Peacock counselors were rude and made a mockery of whatever. Fine. Normal stuff. Kind of stuff that the Oregonian editorial board decides to publish. And then if you hop on Blue Sky, they're like, we looked this lady up. Here's where she works. And you go, whoa.
Just making a target.
This is just like some
Yeah.
like random mother who lives in a neighborhood who is exercising her right to write op-eds in the Oregonian. And again, nothing objectionable even in the op-eds. Not that the Oregonian would publish like,
Yeah.
right? It's
yeah.
like,
well, and that's kind of what I'm talking about, like making targets out of your constituents.
yeah.
And it's kind of like we talked about in one of our last episodes, like Mitch in the Jewish community.
Oh,
It's not funny. It's just
no,
funny
I
to
know.
me that he he's just blatantly discriminating against a whole class of people,
So
and that's his own district. It's
that's his,
like,
then that's his
and I
district.
know he got flack for that,
Well, and
but
that's, and I've got videos of him getting flack for that. And the videos, the dude looks, I'm almost going to compliment him. The dude looks legitimately mortified that these Jewish Portlanders are like, why are you doing this to
just
us?
willing to like come up
Please,
to him and
yeah,
talk
like,
about it.
please stop. Like, please stop. Let me tell you about the times I've been physically attacked in the city. Please stop. And he, I mean, he looks like he's on the verge of tears. You can tell. I'm going to do some mind reading. I'm in mind reading mode engaged. You can kind of tell that he's just promoting the party line. He was doing the thing he was supposed to do by pledging the investigation against Israeli complicity. I don't really know that Mitch Green, the man, is like sitting at home and going, "Yeah, we should start bothering Jewish
Right,
Portland."
right.
But it is the
It's the
party's
partisan.
stance.
Yeah,
That's pretty ugly. That's really, really ugly.
yeah.
I've got some reporting. This is actual reporting coming out soon about some even uglier stuff done behind the scenes to target Alana Purtle-Guinea's run.
Okay, sure.
I'm giving our counselors a chance to respond to some questions I had before I just put them all on blast. But it's ugly, ugly stuff, and it's party line stuff. It's that the DSA's official policy is an anti-Zionist organization, and so
Right.
you go after Zionists.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, and that's a good example right there of kind of this, partisanship in a municipal government, which is not allowed by the charter or Oregon state law. But
Yeah,
I'm curious your take on that, because like my personal opinion after spending a couple days in Portland City Hall working for them, but is that this stuff probably happens all the time. Like Mitch Green, Tiffany, any DSA member picks up the phone and calls Olivia or
sure.
somebody in the party during work or during office hours. And I'm just curious your take on it, because, like I said, the law is just very clear. Any public employee cannot participate in political activity for a committee or a party or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. I don't see how you get around that.
I mean, I think there's probably a way in which it was always happening, right? We can
Yeah,
acknowledge that
they may not be the first one to do that,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
I feel like it's at a level of activity now that's probably more frequent and
Yes,
egregious.
and you can see the data. You look at this is you know, regardless of the number of different political opinions or identities on council in previous years, they still tended to get along. A lot of very rudimentary, like a lot of very like basic stuff was unanimous votes. There was a lot of unanimous consent. They moved at twice the speed that the current council moves at. The
Hmm.
current council picks fights over every little thing, and there's a
Right.
million meetings about every little thing. Yeah, no, I mean, you can see that whether it's that the DSA is so much nastier about this stuff, which I think that they are, or that the bloated, oversized council is also dragging it out. These are probably both true. But yeah, it's
I was thinking about that though. Is that true though? Because I don't know. Even in the previous commission form, I can't think of anyone that like an old commissioner would call up as like a party head and be like, here's what
sure.
I'm going to have my staff do. Here, they're going to talk to your staff. We're going to get this press conference or whatever it is
Well,
going.
yeah,
That's what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
this
It's
is the
like,
DSA's accusation for years has been that this was what was happening with the Portland Business Alliance, right? The Portland
right,
Business
right.
Alliance ran Portland, which is now the Metro Chamber. The
That's what I was gonna say. Aside from like a PAC or
yeah.
some sort of nonprofit, that's the only thing I could see.
No, the Democratic Party was not flex and import. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and even then, like guys, I'm sorry. I've been in backroom, smoky backroom meetings with the Metro Chamber.
It's not that
I
interesting.
no, and I disagree with them more than half the time on stuff, and it's fine. They're not. They are the softest little.
Hmm.
How can we try to get a good policy for small business taxes? We don't upset anybody. You know, obviously we really agree with like they're so nice and squishy. There's no cigar filled back room of a
Right, right.
gentleman's club where they're yeah, it's ridiculous. No, I mean I think you're right. It's just it's politics. Like people have
Yeah,
always
yeah.
in Portland politics. I'll give Tom, your previous guest, I'll give him. He said it has felt like increasingly a very small group of people who've had the reins, um, and that is true in that like if you look at like who Carmen Rubio went to high school with, right? You'll be like, huh, Carmen Rubio went to high school with this dude who is the director of the, like, these people, it's a small
Right,
town.
right,
These people
yeah.
all literally knew each other.
Yeah.
And so there was an awful lot of like,
It's a small network of
yeah,
power players.
our
or- yeah.
union is going to back this candidate. Oh, why are you backing that candidate? Because he married my best friend from college. Like, I mean,
Right,
it's
right.
really kind of boring stuff. But there never was that like national ... socialist agenda, right? There was never that like that feeling of there's an East Coast party that is sending directives to councilors and saying this is what we want you to be doing with the Portland government. Yeah, that's new. That's new and
Yeah, and honestly,
disconcerting.
even the fact that there's a local chapter to me that makes it even worse because it's like there's literally a local version of a party that you're constantly in contact with about
Yes.
policy and communication, and that involves your staffers. And that's what I'm saying. These are all every single one of those is violations of the ORS. And I would even argue, like, if it were up to me, I don't even think you could be wearing a little DSA button to meetings. Like, that's probably because it says, like, you cannot promote
Yeah.
in any way or denigrate
Yeah.
any political party. And it's like, that's what they're doing
I mean,
24/7. So that's why I'm so fired up about it. It's just ridiculous to me. And I get so frustrated with not just the city attorneys, but everyone in the room sometimes, because if you just ignore that shit for too long, it's gonna, like we said before, metastasize and get really, really ugly. But
yeah. This is it. I mean, how many people really know that Loretta Smith and Alana Pertolgini are big time Democrat? Like, not just, oh, they are registered Democrats, but no, they're like,
yeah,
when they're not in those positions as city councilors, like
Right,
before
right.
they took those
they'll
positions.
go to the DNC
Yeah, Loretta Smith,
conventions
yes,
and that
yes,
type of thing.
big time Democrats. And then the moment they swore that oath and took those jobs, you don't hear any more of it.
hmm
Good. That's the rules. They're doing the rules correctly, right? They're doing the
And they
job.
can even do that if they want in their free time. I'm just saying, not in the 8-hour day of City Hall like that. And that's what I'm convinced is happening constantly. Is like they're
Okay.
just calling these folks,
So yeah.
emailing, however they do it. Maybe they're discreet about it now after they've been caught with these group chats and stuff. But
Well, and then
but
there's
if you're using public money to do that, that's the violation. And
Yes.
it's just anyway, but it drives me crazy, and there'll probably be nothing done about it. So
some of it's hard to prove. Some of it is, yeah. Some of it there's going to be nothing.
And I'm sure there's probably people in Portland who are like, I don't see a problem with that. That's fine. If they want to organize around a political party, I don't see a problem. But I'm
Okay,
just
then
saying
then
that's
change-
the law.
Yeah,
you
then
know?
change the rules.
Yeah.
If you don't, if you like it and you're fine with it and you think it's okay, change the rules. That's
Yeah.
fine. Because I can tell you that I had a friend. She'll know who she is. I think everybody will know who she is. It was allegedly fired for doing political organization on the clock. She wasn't.
Yeah.
She wasn't fired for doing political. I actually
that's-
have public records that prove that she wasn't. But
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
But if that were true, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Exactly.
It's like, you can't be doing that on the job. And the law is really clear about
The
it.
law's
I don't
really-
think
the
you can,
law's really
there's
clear.
no real,
You got the Hatch Act. You got all sorts of stuff.
yeah, I don't
um,
think there's a legal argument out of that. And I just want to see more dumps of it.
Well, I think the excuse in Portland City Hall is that the staffers are never off the clock, right? Like
Yeah.
they don't have timesheets. To my knowledge, I can't go pull Angelita's staffers' timesheet. They don't have timesheets. They're always, I mean, unless they're hourly employees.
Yeah,
but
that's a
you
good
know,
point. Yeah.
but her chief of staff is always on the clock. So that's how they get her. They're like, well, I mean,
I'm
I
never
went,
off the
yeah, I
clock, yeah.
went to a thing on Saturday. What am I never allowed to hang out with my
Right.
friends anymore? And
Well,
there's
that's kind of part of the public meetings thing. I think that they will learn either way, no matter the outcome of this thing, is like you kind of have to pay attention to that shit because there's
and
rules in place.
yeah, if you run for city council with a bunch of your friends and you all win, you guys probably aren't friends anymore. Like temporarily.
Right,
You know what I
right,
mean?
yeah.
You probably
For that
temporarily.
reason, yeah.
You can't. The poker night has to be not
Mhm.
that poker. It just somebody has to leave the poker night just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say, this is, I don't know that this happened for sure, but I'll just give an example. A guest came on here and was warned by one of Mitch's people not to come on here. And I'm just saying, if that was his current chief of staff and he did that like at 11 a.m. during the workday, that's a violation of what I'm talking about. You can't have your DSA folks.
Oh no! Don't go on a podcast.
Yeah, don't go on the
the
whatever.
podcast, bro. You know, hey,
So I don't know.
well,
Um,
listen, we're just doing what Tina Kotek told us to do.
I know.
We're
right?
just doing what Tina told us
We're
to
part
do.
of the Smoky Back Rooms of Tina
Smoky background,
Kotek.
Tina Kotek. Hey, Tina.
Yeah. She's coming on the show. No,
Love you, girl.
maybe she will.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say about that? Otherwise, I was going to move on to.
no.
I was going to talk a little bit about. See how much time we have left here. We have a little bit of time. 2026 campaigns. Do you have any thoughts about D3, D4? How's it going?
Okay.
The kind of forecast as we sit
yes.
here.
D4. I think D4 is going to be really simple, so I'll just start with D4.
Okay.
It's Olivia's going to win her seat again. Olivia could sleep through I mean, I don't mean this to insult Olivia Clark. It's just like she could not campaign and she's going to get that seat back. People are happy with her. If you voted for Olivia Clark, you should vote for Olivia Clark again. Again, she's one of those people where you got exactly what you bought with that candidate, right? Vote for her again. Great. That's easy. So that's going to come down to the remaining 2 seats. And that's the big candidates. And at this moment, the only candidates worth considering, apologies to anybody else running in D4, are Eli Arnold, Eric Zimmerman, Mitch Green. Those 2 seats are likely going to be divided between those 3 men. And I'm really clear about my preference, which is Olivia, Eric, Eli. That's a great city council showing for us, and that's what I'm pushing for. I think it's going to be an interesting race. I think it's going to put to the test. I think Mitch did real damage to his reputation over the last year. So I think he's going to struggle with those normal D4 residents who just thought they were voting for a union dude. Because now Eli's in the race and Eli's a union dude. Oh, wait, but hold on. But Eric's really friendly with the unions too. Wait, shit. Olivia Clark is like really well liked, but right, it's like there's no union candidate. They're all in some way either in unions or work with unions or have good relationships. They're all pro-labor candidates. Well, okay, well, Mitch is the anti-ICE candidate. No, they're all pretty critical of the actions of ICE, right? Like it's going to come down to the ugly crap that Mitch did, and then you look at the other 3 of them and go, oh, they didn't do any of that ugly crap. In fact, they have pretty good records. So that's it. I think D4 is just if I'm right, it's gonna be Olivia, Eli, Eric, or Olivia, Eric, Eli in some sort of order of that. And Mitch is gonna lose because he was not what he said he was.
Yeah, I do think too, it'll be interesting to see around November this year how, I don't know, with this 5-year budget stabilization, I don't think Portland's going to be in a better spot financially, but I think that'll probably hurt Mitch too because it's, he's supposed to be this big economy guy, and I just have not seen any evidence that he's helping that in Portland. So I'm
like one of the only people in town that's read his dissertation.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna admit I skimmed.
What'd you think about that?
No, he's exactly who you think he is. He is concerned with the ceiling, not the floor. He's concerned with the oligarchs. He's concerned with he's a Marxist economist. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what he is. I don't think people really, totally understood that.
Yeah.
He and the sort of cohort of economists he hangs out with are pretty fringe. They're pretty fringe economists. So, yeah.
Okay.
D4 is easy. D3 is wild. Angelita's going to run as Angelita. Everybody thinks she's untouchable. I disagree. I think that she's hyper controversial. I think she is guaranteed to get 3,000 votes. I think there are 3,000 D3 residents who would die to vote for her. If it took their lives, they would lay down their lives to vote for her. And 3,000 votes is not enough to get on a city council. So this will be a big test there as well. Does that carry into a non-Trump year? Although she does still get to run against Trump because he's still being Trump. Novick is strong. Novick's going to be fine. I'm not worried about Steve Novick. Tiffany's going to pivot and rebrand is my bet. And that's an interesting strategy. Might be a good one.
Do you almost see that? I'm just curious, with this kind of arguably breaking up of the Peacock, do you see her potentially adding into that of just I'm done with this shit?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Listen, I don't like Tiffany Koyama-Lane and I hate the DSA. I think they're an actual hate organization, but I am fully prepared to congratulate publicly any DSA member that would like to leave the DSA.
Yeah,
if she decides to
I would
do
say
that,
either that or the Peacock block. I'd
applaud any of that.
Yeah.
I'm going to applaud whatever she decides to do. But I think she's pivoting now. Whether it's an honest pivot or a really dishonest
whether it
pivot,
will last, who knows? But
yeah. So we'll see. I know she's real sensitive about the idea that she's the weak member of the Peacock, that she's the one who will lose. That's fine. I think Angelita's in the weak position because she's too controversial. But there's no. Sorry, Tom. There's no one strong. Like who knows? Tom Sollitt may turn out to be a really strong candidate.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah,
couple of D3 candidates who just we haven't seen much from them yet. There is a rumor on the wind, like whisperings from the east of a candidate, a big candidate, a famous candidate.
Okay.
And I'm like, what okay, don't do this. Stop this crap. I have a guess at who it is. If it is that person, it will completely upset the entire race and it will be beautiful chaos. And fingers crossed. And it's not Fred Armisen, even though I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be Fred Armisen. He doesn't
Does he
live
even
here.
live in D3?
No, he doesn't live in D3. I was like, I joked. Everybody who's hinted at this guy, I was like, well, when Fred's ready to go on Andy's podcast, let me know. It's not Fred Armisen. That would be awesome.
I mean, that's literally what I was just gonna say. Is like, you know, and same thing. Like, I don't want to disrespect Tom, but I think he's at a very early stage of his candidacy, and maybe by the time election rolls around, he'll be a different person. But you gotta in D3, you gotta kind of get down in the mud with these guys, and you gotta be prepared to go for the home run or whatever. But
what D3 needs is somebody who can run alongside Steve Novick.
But yeah, I was gonna say if any of these people, and I'm not gonna pussyfoot around it. You know, if any of these people that are rumored to get in, Mingus Maps, even somebody like Jesse Cornette,
Carmen Rubio.
Yeah, if any of these people jumped in, they would, to me, be the top name as far as candidates.
Mingus Maps would literally walk onto the job.
Yeah, I think so too.
I understand that he doesn't want the job.
Yeah.
So that will come down to can nice progressive Portlanders bully Mingus Maps into running for that job.
Yeah, and I'm just saying same thing. I'm not saying any of these people are going to run. Nope. They're just kind of been in the rumor mill, but if they do, those are some serious challengers to the current incumbents.
Yeah. And the person I'm hinting at is not anyone that you have named. Okay. I'm sorry to engage in that bullshit because I don't secretly know who it is. People have been annoying me with this for like a month now. I don't secretly know who it is. I just have an inkling and no one will confirm it. So I'm not going to like tell a rumor of a rumor. But D3 has the celebrity power. As you pointed out, you got Maps, you got Rubio, you got like you Jesse Cornette's, I think, a strong candidate. You've got these people who are known political figures who, if they ran, they probably would either be strong contenders or, in the case of like Mingus, I think literally walk onto the job. But a lot of them have looked at the mess that is the council and they're like, what the hell? Yeah. Why do I want any part of that?
I think that's true. Yeah.
So,
but I do think, I'm saying anybody in that category who feels that they'd be a strong name, I would say jump in because you would just have such an easy narrative and message as a candidate of just being the refreshing person. You're not bringing any of this bullshit that we've just dealt with for the past 14 months or whatever.
Yep.
Come in with a clean slate. I mean, I know with somebody like Mingus or whoever, somebody who's been in office before, you could say, well, they were back in the commission forum and dig up some of that. But
here's
I don't really qualify that stuff personally with this new charter.
Mingus has disappointed some people over the years. I like Mingus as a human being. I'll say this. I learned a really interesting bit of gossip about Mingus, which is that there was a journalist I know who pulled the financials for all the commissioners. Mm-hmm. And everybody's got like, some situations in their financials where they're like, was that retreat to Brighton Bush really the best use of taxpayer money? We're like all of them, right? You had Rene Gonzalez had the drama with the Wikipedia, but then tons of his, the people who came before him had similar shit. And this journalist was like, dude, in confidence, there's nothing on Mingus. This is a guy who, if the sandwich at the restaurant is above the recommended per diem amount, he'll just pay for it himself. Like his financials were so boring. That is a dude who is not corrupt. Like he's so dull to write about
all that.
Yeah. So I mean, he crosses his T's, he dots his I's, and that's an interesting, especially given all the ethics violations and stuff. Mm-hmm. Portland might be hungry for something like that. Somebody like an Olivia Clark, who you just know is not going to get into a scandal like ever.
Yeah.
And then there's county, and Jessica Vega Peterson's not running for re-election, and so it is almost physically impossible to have a worse candidate than
I
JVP
would,
for that
yeah,
race.
completely
So we
agree.
just sort of are going to win by default.
Right. We won as soon as she dropped it from the
Yeah,
race.
like Shannon Singleton, fine,
Yeah.
right? Julie Brim Edwards, fine. Like Sharon Myron, better
Yeah,
in
these
my
are
opinion.
all
But like
upgrades from
all upgrades, you
Yeah.
can't lose with the county. That's good news. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. Any other thoughts about that stuff? I don't know.
No, DSA is running some real fun kooks for some other state positions, but I'll write about those.
Oh,
when we
really?
get it. Yeah, it's
Reps
just
and
fun.
stuff and
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's they're making their move. They're high on their Mamdani supply, and they really think this is like their year. And I think they're gonna overstretch tremendously and crash and burn.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I've been optimistic about that too, of just seeing because I already said, we've had this preview in Portland before New York City, and
yeah.
to me, I've already seen the proof that I need of like these guys have no idea what the fuck they're doing.
No, they know how to run a campaign, but
Yeah,
they
they do.
can't
Yeah,
build
they're
things.
organized with the smoky back room stuff, but they're not. They're not organized as far as policy and
Yeah.
helping cities and helping economies.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only other thing I was going to ask about was the city budget. I know it's coming up. I just wrote down budget gap, but I mean, seems like it's going to be really ugly again.
Yeah, it's going to be bigger, and it's going to be bigger than they say it is, because we know, right? They've already found 2 more holes this
Right,
year. They
right.
just found another hole,
Mhm.
and then they found extra money. And this is where you start getting into crazy town, where you're like, wait, but if we found an extra 21 million, and then we found that we were missing 7 million, couldn't you? No, never mind. It's fine. It's fine. We'll just cut something. Oregon money and politics is really annoying. Yeah, no, I think it's going to be super ugly. And I would not want to be running a political campaign while doing the budget. That's really,
Yeah.
for all of them, that's really stressful. And actually, for every single one of the D3 and D4 candidates, my heart goes out to them on that. That's actually got to be a really crap position. Yeah.
Well, and I haven't talked to, certainly any of the incumbents that are up for re-election about that, but it definitely seems like everyone's waiting to get that done before taking real hardcore stances on campaign stuff, which I think is smart.
It's
but
really smart. If they've learned anything from last year, the mayor's team is capable of putting together a sane, rational, and compassionate budget. If they're smart, they will not turn this into a 48-hour mud wrestling match.
Yeah.
They will just negotiate with the mayor ahead of time, come up with a mayor's proposed, maybe have some little grandstandy stuff around the edges for a session that goes a little too late into the night, and then just wrap that thing up, because the last thing you want as Angelita Murillo running for re-election is to have big, huge, ugly, grandstanding, like it just, yeah. That's my opinion, because I have a higher opinion of the average Portlander than I think the DSA does.
Yeah.
I think the DSA is like, no, they'll love that stuff. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I think
I don't
there's
think they
definitely
will.
some fatigue with that.
I don't think they
I'm
will.
also curious to see how it'll go with the new city administrator with the new going through the new budget.
That dude is totally untested, right? He just has not had a chance to.
Yeah, I saw a little bit in the finance committee
Yeah.
work session thing, and I don't mean he seems super competent
Yeah.
and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
No doubt.
And he
but-
got some questions from people that were kind of like, I think Candace and someone else was asking him stuff about the budget. But I'm just curious to see how that'll go. The way I've been seeing them operate is like there's just always going to be friction between the legislative branch, the council,
Yeah.
and
exactly
the mayor and his
Yeah,
team.
Of
And
course.
so,
And they should be to a certain degree.
yeah, and that's kind of
Yeah.
some of how it works. But yeah, I'm just really curious to see if it's going to be as kind of grueling and ugly as it was last year. But and I'm curious like how they're gonna. I think there'll be amendments and all this stuff to cut police and all that again.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, they have to play to the base. You have to play to your base. Yeah.
But I don't know. What's amazing to me is they'll have these, fights over $10 million and all these small amounts. But it's like, I don't know. I'm maybe an extreme on this, but I would just like take the chainsaw to a lot of these departments and stuff. I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of areas that we probably could be saving money. And there's this weird hiring freeze that was implemented, but then I still see certain positions are listed, and it's a little
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of bloat.
There is a lot of
That can be
we know objectively there's a lot of bloat. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think, I mean, you're being extreme for a Portlander, but this is not. Yeah, so here's my. I'm just saying, hopefully, I don't think it's an ugly fight. I think it's going to be a hideous fight because I think they're not learning the lessons they need to be learning. Well, I think some of the counselors are learning these lessons. Um, the problem with grievance politics, which is the politics that the DSA engages in, is that your base, your core 2000, right, are grievance obsessed. So you gotta go into the budget trying to take 50 million from the police, like minimum. You have to.
Going heavy.
Or your core voter is going to be so disappointed in
Right.
you.
They're like, why didn't you do that? Yeah.
That's just politics.
Yeah.
So because that's the base you've courted. Olivia Clark is not walking into that budget meeting with nice old ladies in Multnomah Village being like, man, you better try to slash the housing. But like, she's not walking in with that weight on her. She's trying to do the most balanced and teamworky, right? She's trying to maintain that brand. But if you're DSA, you got to walk in going, all right, like, here's the things we have to hit, and we have to hit them as hard as possible. But if you hit them too hard, you alienate that swing voter who's like a kind of like Novick, but I don't know, he's a little old and Murillo's like young and refreshing. They're going to go to Novick because he's going to come out of that looking, like a team player, and you're going to come out of it looking like you only care about cutting the police budget in half or something. It's a precarious way to be a politician. Like so it almost must be ugly. Like it's like you're almost
Yeah.
required by your voter. They
And
want
it's
to
kind
fight.
of like, I don't want to say that's like the star of their show now, but like the budget's just a huge piece of what they can do now as counselors.
Yes,
right?
yes, that's their
Half
big
the battle,
This,
basically.
yes, and this is their opportunity to have a big, rocky, for fight, right?
Yeah, duke it out as far as here's who we are as a city, and here's what we're going to spend money on.
The main event, what is it, to quote Angelita, what people are here to see. Right?
Right,
That's
yeah.
it's the good TV.
Mhm.
They're going to try to make good TV over the budget. And then again, if you're sensible, you'll look at Keith Wilson going, this isn't TV, these are people's lives.
Right, yeah. And jobs.
And
all
jobs
that,
and our
yeah.
economy and our
Yeah.
ability to thrive as a city. It's not television. This is why I'm too close to the DSA, because I love the good TV. Like I really do. And it's not good for Portland.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to hang up my hat on that. Like if the DSA lose badly next year, I definitely have to pivot the content that I write, but that would be good for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lose some of your ammunition.
Oh,
of
yeah.
Your
I would like
content. Yeah.
I'd like to complain less. Oh my gosh, I would love to go do an interview with one of the like workers at the Salvation Army Northrop shelter and do like a squishy feel good emotion. I would love to do that. There's just no time for it because I need to be covering
There's a lot of stuff.
stupidity. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I guess these are obvious maybe predictions, but like from that Peacock blog, you'll see another defunding attempt for police. And also I think there's going to be some move against Prosper again.
Oh yeah. Prosperous.
Another
Yeah.
thing will be teed up for that.
I mean, they're still doing the little Prosper hit pieces in the paper like every week.
Yeah.
They're like really not, they hate Prosper for some reason. And I've never fully, whatever.
Yeah, it is strange because I don't even necessarily like it that much, but I do think you need something like that in a city to.
That's the wild bit, right? Yeah. Like you and I are automatically assigned on the side of the Metro Chamber and Prosper and Jordan Schnitzer. And I'm like,
Right.
I don't particularly have any loyalty to any. It's
Yeah.
I just need the quilt to stay whole as we move toward the future. Right? Like yeah.
Okay. I was say, is there anything else we're missing? I don't know. Anything else you want to say before we wrap it up here? The only other thing I was thinking was like you mentioned before how the mayor in that alignment will affect the November city council election. And I mean, you called it out like before anyone I heard from about this is how it's going to shape up.
Yeah.
You're going to be with the mayor or against the mayor. And that's kind of how people will be presented with their voting options.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes. And it's a good time to be like Keith Wilson gets to be very morally lucky at the moment because like fentanyl deaths are falling all across the country. They're falling here, right? A lot of things are getting a little better across the board. So he's like really lucky in that moment. But also, again, I know plenty of people that have criticisms of him, but things are feeling a little better. Things are looking up. And it's not going to be hard to look at the group of people that tried to help him with that and the group of people who were like, he's going to murder us all. And then he murdered none of us and none of us got murdered. And yeah, they're going to have to run on that. They'll get to run on all the Trump ugly crap too. So this will be the job of the media to remind people. Something offended me so much a couple of weeks ago. There was like a woman who'd posted a TikTok defending Angelita because the Freedom Road Socialist Organization was coming after her because she hasn't been hard enough on ICE. And someone was like, Angelita's been plenty hard.
Hasn't been hard enough?
Hadn't been hard enough. No, exactly. She hasn't been hard enough. And so this woman was defending Angelita and she's like, who could have been harder? And what's
Oh, I see. Okay.
And what's the alternative? If you get Angelita out of there, then you're just going to end up with all these counselors who don't give a shit about ICE. And I like had to pause it and go, what counselors?
Yeah,
this is the flawed. Somehow these people have invented a narrative in their head where like the Peacock are fighting the system and the other counselors love the
Right.
president. And you go,
The feds.
what are
yeah.
you what are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Did
So
they
I
not watch the
yeah.
press conferences we were talking about earlier?
So this is going to be up to the media and it's going to be up to the campaigns of those progressive, but like, yeah, I guess arguably to the right of communists,
Yeah.
counselors to be like, no, actually,
Right.
I don't, yeah, everybody made big hay about like, and you know, the people affected by ICE on this council, and they mean Samir, who's a citizen, whose parents are immigrants, and they mean Angelita, but nobody's like turning to Dan Ryan and being like, Dan, isn't your spouse an immigrant?
Yeah.
Don't you like, isn't like all of your in-laws or like don't you have like actual skin in this game as well? Nobody gives a shit because they're just trying to paint him as like conservative.
Yeah.
And so I think this is going to be, yes, like the normal counselors are going to get to run on Keith's record, but they do need to make sure to remind Portlanders the whole council is very left. It's very progressive.
It is.
It
Yeah.
just is.
There's no way around
that's
it. Yeah.
just reality.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, who's trying to invent a narrative and who's trying to root you in like what is actually happening every day
for sure.
is going to be important.
Okay. The only thing I was going to say about that is I was going to mention this earlier when I did my whole economic intro thing, but you know, I've said this before. I think Keith, the mayor, is one of the only people who is focused on these traded sector businesses, like I mentioned. I mean, he ran one. He had a big trucking company that's regional, and they do business way outside of Portland. And so he understands the importance of. Imagine this: we have a mayor that understands the importance of an economy, a local economy. And I think he's probably the only one. I mean, sometimes possibly Eric Zimmerman, he sometimes can kind of wade into that. I think Dan too, but Dan's more like small business. I just wish people would be a little more courageous and say like, all big businesses are not evil. Like we need them to survive. Are we a city or are we like a town? Like which one do you want to be in 10, 20 years?
Yeah, like Alpenrose leaving is bad. Like these are bad things that are happening.
Yeah, and I think I do think there's a fatigue element of people seeing that for literally like 14, 16 months. Every week there's another closure or a possible closure.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be a factor to some degree in the city council election.
It needs to be. It needs to be because again, you don't get your cute small businesses without the employers.
The customers.
Also, you don't get your unions other than your public.
Exactly,
so I want to see private sector, the building unions. I want to see them show up this year and back the candidates that actually have their interests in mind. I want to see the building unions all stacked up behind Eric Zimmerman, right? For example, because I'm sorry, public sector alone is not gonna.
Right.
No, it can't. Yeah. It is time for that big tent to form around the idea that like there's got to be a Portland in 25 years. There can't just be this broken, fractured shell of a city that's not going to be good for anybody. You're going to lose a ton of good union jobs. You're going to lose a ton of everything.
Right.
And again, back to that question that I asked earlier, why? What is special about Portland that is making us recover so much more slowly? And then how are you going to fix that? And if you've got a good answer to that, because the DSA does not have a good answer to that. They don't. I'm not even sure they agree with the premise of the question.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Yeah. All right, man. This is always fun.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll say probably in a couple months, maybe budget season, when that rolls around, we'll do a big episode. As we did last year. I know
Yeah,
that's
no,
a,
it's fine. It's
that's
fine.
a, yeah, that was like one of my probably most work involved episodes for
Yes.
this show that I've ever done. So,
Oh.
but they're fun because it's
Yes.
like you said, it's kind of the TV aspect.
A
of it.
final request to the far left.
Yeah.
Please stop interrupting city council sessions so they have to go to Zoom, because I need y'all to pay me a lot more money if I'm going to be summarizing Zoom sessions. They're awful. Please let them meet in person. Please.
Yeah.
I can't. I
was going to bring that up.
I can't do it.
That shit, not only does it remind me of the old commission, this happened all the
Yes.
time with those
I
where they
know.
shut down meetings, but that's not representative of any, like if 100 people show up at a thing and shut something down, that's not going to move the needle politically. And also the stuff they're asking for is like impossible. So
I know. I actually love writing about political stuff. 16-person Zoom calls. I can't.
Oh yeah.
I can't watch 40
I feel
hours.
your pain, man.
I can't
Everyone's
do
in
it.
a tiny little box.
I
and
can't do it. It's no. Let them meet in person, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay.
All right, man. Yeah, it was fun. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah.